AskGunQuestions.com is a website that we built back in 2007, and since then, for the last 15 years, people have been able to ask questions of simple to advanced nature, and we attempt to answer them in different ways over the years. Join us now as we start a new series to answer gun questions.
Whoa, there we go. All right, welcome everybody to our show. We go live on Saturdays and chat about gun questions or answer gun questions for people that might have them. Tony joins us from New Jersey. Thanks for jumping in.
Hey, man, glad to be here.
Let's see. I guess as I said that, I thought, you know what? I don't even remember the last time I opened up the actual thing where the gun questions go. So I'm going to go open that up and see if we got any today. I'm trying to think too if we missed any from last week. We had a bunch, I think, from last week. So thanks everybody for joining in live and throwing them out there, because that's really what we prioritize the live stuff, and then the website does collect them. I guess it's a couple of thousand over the years, but we do have actually 3 new ones over there. So they're real questions too. Cool, and they're from real people. So thanks for everybody for joining in and asking real questions. But we have New York Outcast out there joining us, saying crazy things about 9mm. Anything happened over the week? I know we have a couple of things that happened gun-wise over the week. I suppose we could talk about, although this isn't necessarily like, one of those like, let's do whatever the news tells us to talk about each week. But when there is interesting news, it certainly can be talked about. Chris is joining us out there. Welcome.
Oh.
I know the big one for me was when he reclassified marijuana to Schedule 3, or rescheduled, I guess, not reclassified, rescheduled it, whatever the term is, so that they can do research on it. I thought it was super interesting because whatever day that happened, it happened like really early in the morning, and the same day, I forget, somebody in Hollywood got killed by their kid. And NPR didn't even talk about it. Like, I didn't hear one thing on NPR about it, because I listen to NPR in the car when I'm driving around. That's how I monitor the other side, I suppose. And I just was curious to hear what they were going to say, because Trump did it, right? And I was wherever I seen the post, I think it was on like Fox News or something. Wherever I seen the thing originally, like I was like, "What? This can't be right. This is some fake news onion thing or whatever," because it's so. He was just shooting boats in Venezuela for having fentanyl. So I was like, this guy isn't whatever, even moderate on drugs. Like, he's gonna, just do like every other president and just say a bunch of stuff to get into office and then do whatever he feels like, right? So I thought that was total onion type of news or something. So whenever I seen it, I wanted to verify, and I went over and found a YouTube video. It was only like 5 hours old at like 5 a.m. So I don't know when they did this. Like, they must have done it as everybody was going to bed on whatever night. So I was seeing it whenever I wake up, and I wake up pretty early, and it was pretty new news. So like I say, I was watching it mainly to verify if it was really news or not, or if it was just some joke or something. And the comments of it, as you can imagine, were mostly positive, I think. Like, I shouldn't say as you can imagine. In fact, I figured they'd be diverse because it was on like Fox News or something. But pretty much it was all like pretty much open-minded to like, now we're going to see, I'm looking forward to how this affects PTSD, or like, I'm glad, they're doing this. Hopefully the VA takes it up or something. Like, maybe this will let the, open up the pipelines to the VA. That's what most of the questions were like, which I thought was kind of what I expected to see, but I wasn't sure what I was going to see on, the internet. But then one of the comments was, now the Democrats are going to hate marijuana. And I was like, oh, no. But because Trump signed it, of course, now they're going to figure out how way to hate it. So I hear nothing on NPR, because I kind of wanted to hear what NPR was going to say about it, because Trump did it. And then so I got sick of listening to NPR, because all they were talking about is somebody in Hollywood. I forget who it is. Somebody in Hollywood, their kid killed him and his wife. And that's all they talked about. Like, one, they had like 2 interviews with the guy. So, of course, they were all best friends with the guy. And I'm like, and in between, they're always complaining because Trump stopped the federal money to NPR or public radio in general, I think. So they're their breaks nowadays, they're commercials because they don't quote have commercials, but they go to commercial break all the time and say, oh, 20% of our funding, millions of dollars was taken away. And even though it's funny because half the commercials are like, even though they took away our funding, we're still building new buildings and we're still growing and they're not going to stop us. And that's thanks to you. And then the other half of them are like, we won't be here. We won't be able to do what we're doing because unless we contribute. And I'm like, aren't they talking to the same people? Like, what's going on here? But anyway, I thought it was interesting that they didn't really say nothing, but they just talked about this, this actor crap in Hollywood. Then I flipped the channel to some religious channel. We have a lot of religious channels in Arizona. I don't know if that's a Arizona thing or if that's just a radio thing these days. Like, I really don't know. But we do have a lot of religious channels like on the edge of the radio station. So I was, hitting scan or whatever, and I got into the religious channels. And that's the only other channel I heard talking about it, or the only channel I heard talking about it. And it was like a Catholic channel, and they were really concerned. Like, this is the gateway drug to other drugs. And I mean, they said something like, marijuana in the 60s had 1% of THC, and nowadays it has 99% of THC. And I was like, wow, like they're not even trying to, like they're just going straight to the dare or whatever it was. Keep, or no, even worse, the reefer madness stuff. But anyway, they were concerned. They were very concerned, which I guess, go ahead, go be concerned. There's like, nothing they're saying is wrong. Like, it is different nowadays, but I am glad to hear, that they rescheduled or whatever. So that was the big news for me. And when I posted that, I was just curious to hear what gun people would think about that. And most of it was going to the 4473 and the issue between federal and local, I guess federal and state authority or federal and state, regulatory ability, that kind of thing. And who has the powers and that kind of thing, which is all important, right? That's all aspects of this.
Yeah, because that was mine, and I've never smoked and don't ever plan on smoking weed. But I think the hypocrisy is a little annoying.
Well, I think pretty much. I think they say everybody knows somebody, and it's like, I can't even count how many people I've known in my life that, and there's just, I don't know what the ratio is, but it's got to be the same for people who drink. I can't even count how many people I've known that have drunk, been, are drinkers, and. Of all the drinkers I know, like there's got to be a slight percentage that are drunk all the time and are ruining their life from it. And same with anything else, right? Like, so I hear you. Like I don't think you have to be, what do you call it? Like a user of the drugs to understand the significance of this one. This is kind of like the end of prohibition, I think, like whenever they did the alcohol prohibition and they finally ended it. I consider this like a, sort of like the war on drugs, how people say the war on drugs, it's over, the drugs won. This is sort of like
drugs won.
Concession to that. Like, okay, let's move on and quit trying to fight something that's obviously not something that's just a switch you can flip on and off, right? If I think you just flip it off enough times, they'll leave it off. Like, nope, that's not working. So let's try a different strategy here.
So yeah, I look at it as you've destroyed enough lives. Can we go ahead now and you've jailed enough people, you destroyed enough lives, you've seized enough property based on weed. Can we move? Oh, it's a gateway drug. Okay, well, marijuana is a gateway drug to drugs, like milk is a gateway drug to alcohol. Like 100% of the people that drink alcohol have drank milk. Like that's how they did the study. I actually found what was it? I forget, one of those books. What was the name of it? What They Don't Want You to Know. I think that was the name of the book, and it just has a lot of facts and a lot of sources and everything. And yeah, it goes back to a study. They interviewed heroin addicts and found out that many of the heroin addicts, and majority of the heroin addicts actually use marijuana, and thereby they say it's a gateway drug to heroin. Well, what's the percentage of people that actually smoked the weed that went on to become heroin addicts? Let's talk about the giant majority that didn't and just smoked weed like you drink a beer and put it down and you're done and didn't become addicted to it. It's all how you play with numbers for the outcome you want. And this prohibition, all it did was create a bunch of criminals, get the government a bunch of money, stepped on a bunch of people's rights, and you made something look like counterculture. So if I'm, doing these drugs and stuff, I'm pushing back against the man. It's like, yeah, how about stop villainizing inanimate objects? But hey, listen, I'm just a freedom dude. Let people live with their own results of their stuff. Whatever, man. You get into it. I'm more a libertarian, conservative,
Well, that's where I
liberal.
see it as
Leave me the F alone.
a big piece of that. And the sad part is it's drugs, right? So now it's got that whatever
Hmm.
taint or connotation where people that hate
Yeah.
drugs are never going to be okay with this. And then
Yep.
forget whatever the opposite side of that is never going to be happy enough with it should be completely legal or something, right? Like they're not happy with the
Hmm.
stuff or whatever. But I'm looking at
Well,
it as well, the biggest step is that I just like the idea that the science can start actually looking at it instead of this bullshit like, well, if it was legal to do studies, we figure it would be this. It's just dumb to assume
hmm
in 2025 when every other countries can study this, I think. And if they can't, then good, we're
yeah,
leaving it. I don't know enough about it. I just like that it's moving it. But then what I really like is I did
yeah.
as I was thinking about doing a what do you call it, like a blog post about this, because
Hmm.
I knew it was, to me it seems like an interesting thing because I've always said this. I'm going to jump around tangents here.
Yeah.
I've always thought it was interesting how the pot movement went from medical to recreational, which is a big jump in the
Hmm.
war on drugs life. And our parents were running the world when that all happened, and we weren't necessarily hippies, right? Our generation and the next generation, I don't think they're hippies. Now they might be because
Nope.
it's recreational marijuana and they might be able, have more access to it than anybody else has ever had in the world. But it just thought it was interesting how a bunch of hippies who are not like, let's go have hippie rallies or pot rallies. They might have been pot rallies and I have no idea, right? But all I know
Yeah.
is that like a couple of states did it. It was like an experiment and like recreationalized it or whatever that's called. And then there was no repercussions other than like the schools got showered in money. And then the other states were like, wait a minute, the schools got money from this instead of like the underground,
Hmm.
the black market keeping all this money and the cops sort
Hmm.
of, confiscating some of it and paying for the cops. Like, but instead drugs can pay for more than the cops. It can pay for all the schools. I think that's really
Yeah.
what did it. I think, but I'm looking back 2020 hindsight. How do I
Hmm.
know? But I just always thought over the years, like as we've been talking about gun stuff, that I'm like, how do the potheads get so much gain so much? No, I'm not saying. I mean, we've done it too. We got constitutional carry, we got concealed carry everywhere. Constitutional carry in 29 states, so we're doing all right. But man, the potheads have, I think, 30 states with recreational, or maybe it's 30 states. It's 30 states with one or the other. And I just think that's interesting because it's even more states than we have with constitutional. And again, they don't have like an NRA. They don't have anything. Like, and it's not like our NRA did anything for us. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying like we at least have organizations. I don't think they have except for a couple, right? And most of theirs are probably the same as ours. Like we're fighting for medical and we're fighting for veterans' rights and we're fighting for get people out of prisons because there's so many aspects of pot that are just dumb, right? Like you say,
Hmm.
like, oh, I have a bag of something in my pocket that's essentially going to stun me as much as booze or a beer, right? Like they say it's about as much as beer, right? Like not even as much as a hard alcohol being intoxicated. Like you're just as intoxicated as you would be like if you're at a ball game with beer. So, I've got a bag of something in my pocket. I don't know what the deal is, right? At the time and the place, but a handful of this stuff could put you in jail for a long, 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 long time. Just a handful of this.
Yep.
And I don't know what that is. What, a party for some people, right? Like an afternoon for some people, like a month for some people, like a handful. And that's going to put you in jail for a long time. That's just dumb. And like you say, ruin families and all that. It's just dumb.
Yeah.
But then the fact that they can, I think by taking it to this level, you can't be arrested the same way, right? Like now it's not the same as like cocaine. Now it's like having a bunch of aspirin or something. So I think it's going to change the laws in that respect, whether some states like it or not. But I don't really know all those repercussions. But for me, I just thought it was interesting that it's changing so much of the community. And I wanted to do a blog post on it. And that's what I wanted to focus on in the blog post. It's not so much that like, because I don't know if it's a miracle drug, like, or if it's a miracle thing. I just know that it's been, what's the word, prohibited from research because of morals, I guess, because of some people thought it was bad. And I don't even know if it was a
Hmm.
religious thing. Some people say it's a racist thing. Some people say it's an economic thing, like that nylon and stuff was competing with this strong fiber. So there's, if you read The Emperor Has No Clothes, there's like 4 or 5 good arguments on why this thing, essentially a bunch of different industries or sectors like ganged up on this thing and it became the culprit. So by making it illegal, a bunch of people benefited, and it's just been illegal since.
Hmm.
And that's just annoying. Like, it's just a stupid thing, I thought. So anyway, I just think
Well,
that it's kind of changed. It's losing that grip or whatever. It's changing, because I really think hemp itself, the plant, the fiber, is, I think that's something that we could champion as a country. The tough part is turning that into clothes and paper and stuff economically. But give us challenges. We challenge. We accomplish that shit all the time, especially with the tech we have nowadays. But anyway, I'm ranting.
well, you have all of the, again, concerned interest with their own bias and bigotry. And you can put it down the race, you can put it down the money, because tobacco companies didn't want competition. Alcohol companies didn't want competition because you can chill out, smoke weed, and
Yeah,
go
you're
about your
not
freaking
drinking a beer,
business.
right?
Uh-huh. Companies that knows, recreational, other recreational, or maybe even pharmaceutical. Understand, you can grow weed at home. You don't need to go out and get it. So that's competition to anything. Anybody's trying to profit off when you're just taking the profit away from it. Again, I've never smoked weed in my life. Don't ever plan on smoking it. I just thought it was a bunch of hypocrisy and bullcrap. And it seemed when the government figured out a way to make money on it, all of a sudden there's just no problem with it. It's like, wait a minute, what? Oh yeah, yeah. As long as you do cash, because if you do more cash, the federal government will come in and take it. Those are the bad guys. So just pay us in cash. I'm like, I hate government. You just never can hate government enough. Don't gamble because it's wrong. Don't run numbers. But if you do a lottery and we tell you that the money goes to the school system, hey, make sure you play today because the Powerball lottery is $1.5 billion. That's the state government allowing gambling because they get most of the cut. Because if you're the one person that wins $1.5 billion and you take a cash payout, you get 500 million. The government gets the billion. Yeah, they figured out how to pay themselves off things they were morally opposed to, and you have to come to the idea that the
I say
government
it's
has
not
no
even like they're okay with it. They're like, there's a marketing agency in each
promoting it.
country, each state, right, making people want to do
Yeah.
it. Like, yeah, like getting you to want to do it, kind of shit. Yeah.
Yep, government has no morals, and they're about getting paid and figuring out how to do it. That's what bothered me about the weed conversation. That's what bothered me about prohibition. That's what bothers me about steroids. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
that's one of
this
those
is
things when
wrong.
they
This
talk about
shouldn't.
drugs and stuff, like, oh, should all drugs be legal? Like, yeah, when you're talking about all drugs be legal, steroids is in there where, like,
Mhm.
you're telling, get your drugs, get your laws off my body and stuff, like, but
Well, I read a bunch of stuff. Because I was in the lifting, I was in the bodybuilding, I was going to bodybuilding shows. I read books about it. I read books from people that competed. Read books on nutrition, and then I fell down the rabbit hole of, wait a minute, how did this whole thing become illegal? Because I came through and started reading these magazines and books in the '80s, in the early '80s, and watched it become illegal, and very few people talked about it. And then you find out the way they all of a sudden made it the same thing as being busted with cocaine, and the dudes that just worked out. Understand, you have steroids in the same category as heroin and cocaine.
and
And
like
I'm like, yeah, that's totally different clientele, by the way.
walking across the border, right, with this is the same
Yeah,
penalties essentially.
it's the same penalty if you get caught selling it, and that's what happened. I forgot whose book I was reading because I'd read so many. It was so long ago. But that's what happened to some of the dealers because the dudes were working out and they were going to the same dealer to buy steroids. And the dealers were like, bro, if I get the same amount of years for weed as I get for steroids, I'm just selling weed. It's easier. I get more money and I can transport more. It's like, so yeah, you muscle heads, go find somebody else to go to. There's more profit margin than this for me.
My problem
Selling
was
coke and weed.
over the years that because the steroids is illegal and everybody knows it, and a lot of people
Hmm.
assume because of my physique that I'm a steroid user, and so I
Oh,
always
I
often
spotted it
get
right away.
right, like people often discriminate against me because they assume I'm doing the steroids, and I'm just naturally like this.
Well, also, when you don't do research on steroids, you don't get the benefits. You don't find out. They can't do studies with it. And that whole thing, same thing. Same thing. It's hard to do studies on it, and of course, any benefits from them get shushed. But these are the same people that put Botox in their face to stop the wrinkles, put bags of silicone in their chest or in their ass. I mean, there's all kinds of silly things people do for cosmetic reasons, and I'm like, but steroids are bad. Yeah, I just don't like government involved in anything, and when the government can find a profit, they'll just change the laws and look at you like, sorry, we destroyed your life, but we destroyed lives for 70 years, but now we've changed our mind.
I think, well, just to play devil's advocate, like my perspective on it, I think is consistent that the government is just a structure. So it's not going to have a memory, and it's not going to have like an intent either. So you're right. Like it's, people that use it this way, when they get taken away or stop using it that way, it's like, boom, it just ends. And unless there's people there that are going to go, hey, wait a minute, we just wreaked havoc and we owe something. You know what I mean? Like there's usually mechanisms in place for that to take place, but there's also nothing in place that says that has to take place. So, you know what I mean? Like nothing can happen, but I guess if there's probably nothing preventing someone from trying to whatever, sue them, but obviously that's not easy or anything. So I'm not trying to say that there's a silver lining. I'm just saying like, it's not, I just think it's the natural, whatever, I guess, the natural situation there. I'd rather
that's the
have
annoying
it than
part,
not.
bro, and you're right. My problem with it is this: we say the government. It was individuals.
Yeah,
It
that's
was individual congressmen. It was individual senators. It was individuals that passed this thing, and then, given long enough, they'll be on the complete other side of the argument and try to take some kind of moral high ground. It's like, bro, you wrote the bill. Like, you wrote the bill that they're enforcing right now, that you're now standing against.
One of the things, we got this question on the screen, so I'll eventually come to the question on the screen, but we don't really jump on them or nothing. So hopefully nobody's getting too worried about me having this question up and us totally ignoring it. But that makes me think of like everybody's right now, not everybody. I think there's a push from the people who write the narrative, the people who are writing the scripts, what's going to be said. There's this idea that you need to mistrust AI because it can be deceptive. You got to mistrust AI because you're going to be fooled by it. Bad people are going to use it in evil ways. So therefore, you don't know what it's all about yet. Be scared of it. And I think that's bullshit. And I think I can see why you'd want to put that out there if and this is what NPR, one of the reasons I get so frustrated at NPR, because they'll say one side all the time. And I'm sure they get pissed about the echo chamber that only says one thing on our side, but what can we do about it? We're trying to do something about it, right? We're trying to say stuff on both sides, so we can't. But I think that when you don't acknowledge that what AI can do is something that I think is almost magic. But what I used to like to do for a number of years there, from like 17 to 20 probably, was go online and dig in and do research on stuff. And luckily, I can't say I was like blessed to have the ability. I basically ran myself financially into the ground doing it, but I decided to just fucking do it anyway, honestly. And it was kind of deliberation or determination, because I figured I was, at the time, I knew I could come back from it financially, right? To spend some time doing this. At the time, I thought there might be some worth to do it at that time. But I thought it was interesting to go in online and do deep dives, I guess you'd call it, into whatever, and do some research. And people can go back and look at all different kinds of projects I've done, right? Like doing research. And for me, I got started with my bayonets and my ammo collections, and then, just digging into like Second Amendment advocacy and, the origins of the museums and all kinds of cool shit. But the thing is, it was fun for me because I'm just like this amateur researcher, I guess. Like I'm an amateur. I like to go find this stuff. It was fun to discover. I'm a collector, and it was collecting data, right? It was just an interesting thing to use search engines and blah, blah, blah to go find this stuff. I still like to do it. I'd love to do it. If I had all the time in the world, that's what I would do. But what AI is going to be able to do is do that like 1,000 times faster and 1,000 times more, whatever the word is, like accurately and deeply, like it'll be better than what I ever could have done. And in people are like, blah, 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 writers or something will be out of work. I don't care about all that. Like, what we'll have is a tool that can allow us to look at the entire internet, right? Everything on the internet is digital, which means something like a search engine can go comb through it. We haven't had something like a search engine to comb through the entire accumulation of digital shit, except for Google, who has had giant robots read every fucking book, but they read every single book. Think about that. Google read every single book and put it into digital. Now we have AIs, which are really just giant mechanical combs, like big giant robot spiders that can understand tons and tons of data and pull what we want out of that. So now we'll be able to go. So, like, let's say, this all started with politicians being unscrupulous. We've had like memes that say, like, look how much money Nancy Pelosi made. And it's frustrating because we see that Nancy Pelosi made a shit ton of money trading on her understanding of what was going on, through her perspective of being in politics or whatever. And a lot of people think that's unfair or whatever. But that's sort of a meme that gets traveled around amongst people who are willing to look at a meme. But like, is that ever being presented on like name brand television? Probably not, right? Like, challenging Nancy Pelosi's like financial motivation for all this. And maybe it is. I have no idea. I'm just using that as an example. You could use any controversy out there, but what we'll have, what AI will eventually, and it right now can do, and what will eventually be even easier to do. You're seeing it with search engines now. When you ask for something on the search engine, the AI can do a better job of finding it for you and finding exactly what you want. And you can refine that search based on, your conversation with that AI robot. So think about that. Like, as we're able to go have this conversation and go, what did Nancy Pelosi make when she was in office? We don't have to figure out how to go find it. It would have taken us like a weekend to go figure all that out looking around 2 or 3 years ago, because the information was probably out there, right? You just had to go find it. Well, now you can ask an AI robot to go get that. So what that does for the democratization of, what is that, knowledge or understanding, right?
Yeah, information.
Not just information. It's like the information's there, but it's like being able to absorb and use that information and like have it be useful in our conversations. People can bitch about AI all they want, but that tool, once we start being comfortable with that, we're really comfortable with search engines. We don't even think about it. We're really comfortable with these like little telephones that we carry around that can do anything and go get anything. We just haven't really had understanding of how to do anything with that, because no one's empowered us to be able to do anything with that, because it's such a monumental task. But imagine, having the access to the Library of Congress, for example. We've all got it. Like, we can go access, but what are we going to do with it? Having a little C3PO droid that we can task with, like, get me everything about the president's farting. And it goes, okay, there's 17 instances in the House of Congress about the president's farting. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of shit that is funny, but you know what I mean? Like, we can get data now, like, or we could use data that we could never use before. And that's what I think they're scared shitless about with AI. That's why I keep saying, like, we're about to have a Star Trek place, because it'll be very, very difficult for someone to be a crook going forward. You know what I mean? Like, it's just going to be very difficult for someone to be a crook.
So I look at it the same way. Because and if you heard a bunch of clicking, that was me messing with my Smith and Wesson 686 to try to help answer this question. So I will be doing that. Because mine was very hard to push too. So I look at AI as just another way to get information, and I think some people are looking at it like movable type. Oh no, movable type. They'll be able to just give you every idea, and it doesn't necessarily have to be true. Nothing's better than just word of mouth and learning history that way. Why would you want it in books? I mean, it really
if
is.
you didn't write it in hand, if the monk didn't write it with pen, then it can't be valid.
Yeah.
You can't trust a printing press.
What's going to happen to all these scribes once all these things are available? And it's like, that's what it sounds like to me. Who's going to make bullwhips now that they have these horseless carriages? How horrible. So no, that doesn't hold a thing. We don't stop technology because people will be put out of jobs by that technology. That's not the way a growing society works. That's the way you do things backwards. So I have no problem with that. But to talk about why you don't see certain things and why they fear it, Because just like with this story you're talking about with Trump and weed, well, if you can go look at stuff yourself and it becomes you don't need mainstream media to tell you what to look at or where to look, all of a sudden they can't form your friggin' opinion. See, one thing is to form your opinion with the information they give you by manipulating the information. The other thing is just never give you that information. So if they continually talk about Rob Snyder, not Rob Snyder, uh, whatever his name is, that got killed by his freaking son and the wife, they don't have to talk about Trump. They'll just talk about that because it's so horrible and it's bigger than just this weed thing. Why Rob Reiner? Yeah, that's it. Uh, it's bigger. Who cares about weed? Well, that's amazing because depending on who president it is, if you don't politically agree with him, excuse me, if you do politically agree with him, is making the world freer and taking an albatross around people's neck and all the positives about it. But if you don't want to sound like a hypocrite about it, just don't talk about it. Just don't
Well, they
even
won't.
mention
They
it,
won't
bring
talk
it up.
about the signing, right? Like exactly, and then they'll just incorporate it in with the rest of news. Like now that weed is, or now that marijuana is a Schedule 3, or
Hmm.
whatever it is, blah blah blah, and they'll just go on as business as usual and never, which is like omission, I
Attributed.
guess. Yeah, never
Yeah,
attribute
never
to
attributed to the president. Yeah.
or what they will
And
do is
that's how
they'll
people,
go, Trump, who finalized what Biden started. Biden started
yep.
it. The Republicans wouldn't let him. The Republicans that hate Trump decided to fight back against Trump by letting this go, demanding that Trump push this through is how they'll frame it. You know what I mean? Like I can already see that happening.
It's it's just biased and it's silly, and this is why I don't respect party loyalty, and I really don't respect the media at all. And if they
It's
get
like,
huffy about it, it's like, stop it, dude. You can't respect somebody that manipulates the truth. It goes, oh, but the other side. How's this? I
now
don't
here's the
trust
thing.
any of them.
As I listen, I'm sorry to interrupt, but as you're saying that,
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
about to say like, and I don't, I wanted to like make a caveat. Like, I don't even listen to the stuff on the right because it's so horrible. Like, it never
Yeah.
understand it. It either is stupid, which I find it hard to believe. It's possible they could literally just be ignorant or stupid, but I think that they understand the other side. But they understand that if they addressed what the other side's concerns are, that they know that the matter might actually be resolved, and that's not good for business. And that's the only option because otherwise they're really stupid. But they will, they'll take something out of context, misunderstand it or whatever, and just go with that for so long, and then just jump on to the next thing with no consequences. And their audiences don't take them to task for that. Again, probably they don't realize because they're not watching both sides. But if they are watching both sides, then they're allowing that little two-step bullshit to happen. And yeah, that's where I wanted to say, like, I'm not saying that the right side news is better because I don't listen to that at all. I only listen to the left side because I got to listen to something from the left and I don't know what else to listen to. So then, but what I was going to say is because they're both so like horrible, then
Hmm.
almost understand why it's like oil and water. You can understand why they're not going to mix. They just are different. But at the same time, I'm not giving them any kind of slack because it's everybody's decision to decide to stay oil and water. Like that is a decision. They are oil and water because they're not going to mix the way that they're running their system, but they don't need to do it that way. They could easily
Hmm.
create a bias membrane or whatever the hell word is and like incorporate some understanding of what the other side is doing. You don't have to agree with
So
anybody to understand what they're doing, and they refuse to
exactly.
understand what the other side is doing.
And that's my problem with people. Look, I understand you're looking at a product, right? You're looking at Fox News, you're looking at CNN News. That's the product. And they're going to pander to the people that buy their product because it's commercial. They've never told the truth. All communication is manipulation. Never think there was ever a good time in journalism because we can take you back 100 years when the Hearst papers getting Americans convinced we needed to go to war with Spain in 1899. So never think there was a good time when all the reporters were the fourth estate or fifth estate. I'm sorry, I can't remember which one it is. And they were just these great unbiased seekers of knowledge. No, always been manipulation. It's up to us as individuals to see through the bull crap if you want to. But I just can't see how one side's completely evil and the other side's on the side with angels. I'm like, bro, if you believe there's a good side and a bad side, then you still believe WWE wrestling was real. Like, because that's how I see the media. When I was at Ambassador Academy, I was actually there with a young lady that's a reporter. She's actually on Donald Trump's press corps when he travels. She's on the plane with Trump. She's on Air Force One. She travels with him. I got to meet and hang out with her for a day and a half in Florida doing Ambassador Academy 2 years ago. She's left leaning, but at least she actually, it's more to the middle than hanging way out to the left like they're, working a sailboat. Um, Axiom News is who she's with, I think. I think that's the way you pronounce it. But my whole thing is, yes, she has a bias. But guess who doesn't? Very few people. I don't like any of them. That's how I'm biased. I just don't like them from jump. I don't trust them. And I tell people,
Exactly.
just look into it. Be a, what do you call it? Be a contrarian when it comes to the news, the media, and all of it. Just look at it all with a jaundiced eye that they aren't trustworthy.
That would be my bias too, is that I'm like skeptical, beyond skeptical of both anybody who even shows up to lead, essentially, unless you're
Mhm.
doing it reluctantly or out of some reason. And then I'm okay because I understand it. And then I'm going to give you as much shit as possible, especially if you show up because, like, I care about the crosswalks or some shit, right? Like something that I
Mhm.
care about. And that's why I'm showing up and I'm going to, take office. Okay. I mean, right on, like that you care so much about your thing that you're doing that, accomplish your thing. If it's the right thing to do, it gets accomplished. But now if you're going to chime in on like the water situation or like, tariffs, or actually I shouldn't say tariffs, that's a trigger word right now. Taxes or something. Taxes is a better one. You know what I mean? Like now you're not an expert. Now I'm going to scrutinize and I hope, and I'm going to expect you to consult experts or something. But the person that
Mhm.
comes in and is like, I'm a professional politician and I went to school for lawyer politician / politicianing. Well, get the fuck out of here. Like I do not want you in our
Yep.
country. Go
Yeah, I'm
down
third
south.
generation politician. Yeah, F off.
When I was talking about doing the deep dives, when I looked at there's a number of them, but one of the acts, I forget. I have to think about it for a second. But this one jerk, is he the Dicky guy? He's one of the a-holes, Lineberger, or one of the jerks. He's done like a number of things. That's the thing. Like some of these people are just like anti, and they figured out like either they get paid for it or they get off on it or something. But they keep going after being anti-gun, but maybe they're anti-swimming pool. Like I wouldn't know about other shit, right? But you can tell because these people come back into the scene every once in a while. But anyway, this
Mhm.
guy did a look at his deal, and it was like, yeah, he went to school for being a politician or whatever, like a lawyer-ish thing, and then
Mhm.
like public service or something, and then got out, was an apprentice for a while, got out of that, and was like defendant or public prosecuting attorney or something like that, like putting people in jail for the
In prison.
government, and then
Uh-huh.
ran for office, and then is responsible for a bunch of anti-gun bullshit with his name on it. And it's like, yeah, dude, you never even had a job. Like you've worked for the government. I guess that's a job
Nope.
technically. Somebody's paying you, but that's not a job. Like that's not a job.
Well, it's someone that works for the government.
You're doing work, but you're not like a
Yeah.
person who has a job, like, has a boss that cares, like they are making a product or something. They're providing a
Well,
service
they're
and
not
they
making a
care about
profit.
something's happening that they are involved in. Like you could give a shit in your government, like you could give a shit. And if you do give a shit, they're not going to let you give a shit because it's government. Like if you like everything has to be yellow. I love yellow. Like you're not allowed to make it yellow. It's government. It's gray. Like, unless you love
Yep.
gray, like who cares what you love? This is government. So even if you are, passionate person, the government's going to either grind you down or you're going to comply with government because that's just the way it has to be. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but I guess that's the way it is. But whatever. Let's see. New York Outcast is saying, when I was a kid, the weatherman normally got it right. And now 3 different apps say 3 different things about the same area. I'll be wrong with live radar. Dude, seriously, it is kind of weak when I'll look at the radar or the weather app or whatever. It's like, oh, you got 3 days before it rains. Oh, you got 2 days before it's raining. Like, what the hell?
You know what I look at for my weather app? I look out the window. That's it. I'm just done. I'm done with people being wrong.
Most
I'm
of the
like,
time, I'm trying to like paint my roof or something, so I'm trying to like time it where I can,
mhm,
like put the paint
in a
down.
few days.
Like
Yeah.
stop my roof from leaking, and it's not like I can either fix my roof or paint it every once in a while. So like, yeah, paint it right like 2-3 days before it rains is ideal. But let's get to the actual gun question here. So this came in from
Hmm.
the actual website. So thanks to people who actually go over there, and thanks to the Patreons who make it possible for that to even exist. And this one's from somebody named Michael. The cylinder release latch on my new Smith & Wesson Model 327 revolver requires much more force to push to the open position than it should. I will have this looked at by Smith & Wesson or a gunsmith, but I am concerned as to whether my having pushed the release forward several times with enough pressure to open the cylinder may have done harm, caused any damage. So that's an interesting question. That's first off, that's the kind of question that you'll never get a good answer to, in my opinion, because very few people open up a revolver to know what's going on inside of there. So even fewer are going to understand, the gunsmithing and the math and shit that needs, to answer that actual question. So some people, like few people have seen what you're even talking about inside, and even fewer people understand what they're looking at in there because, it's easy enough to put things back together. It doesn't mean you understand what's going on in there. So I have to tap out. Like I have no idea. I'm gonna assume I don't think on a Smith and Wesson anything you do to could hurt it. I just have never heard of something like that happening on any, not even on old ones. Like maybe it could have happened on an old one, maybe soft metal or something. I just can't see anything about the engineering or metallurgy of a new Smith. But what do you think?
Oh, well, as a firearms expert, I tell you exactly what's wrong because I know, because I'm an expert in firearms. No, actually, I had the same problem with mine. Now, going by his description of it's harder to push. So I have my 686 in my hot little hand right now. And what was happening with me would I'd push it and it wouldn't move like it should. It wouldn't go forward easy. And then when it did go forward, I couldn't open it. I couldn't swing the cylinder out. The cylinder itself was hard to swing out. And what I realized is it was the spindle working its way out, and I had to tighten it back. So with the firearm facing away from me, holding the cylinder in place with my thumb on the back of the star, I reached forward and I turned the spindle clockwise again with the grip in my belly, holding onto the star and the cylinder with my left hand, my thumb in the middle of the star, and my forefinger on the front of the cylinder. I turn what do you call this? The shell ejector. I turned that because that was working its way out. And then when I close it, the button is easier to push. And I'm talking about I just did this 5 minutes ago. The button's easy to push, the cylinder's easy to swing out. If that's his problem. If not, I take it to a gunsmith first to have him look at it, maybe pay a small fee and get it back immediately. Then send it off to Smith and have your firearm be gone for 2 weeks to 2 months. And, they send it back to you and tell you nothing's wrong.
Dude, that's awesome. I would 100% agree, even saying everything I said before, but just hanging out in gun shops for so long, I've just never seen a Smith break. So it just doesn't happen. So it'd be so weird to see, or to have this be some kind of weird burr or something like that, some kind of weird problem with the machining or something. It just doesn't happen. Not in 2025. So that makes way more sense that basically something else is binding and what you're trying to do is just being like resisted. It's you're pushing against that, or it's pushing against you, or whatever that would be.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree
Right.
with you.
Just
Like
had to
if
happen.
you're gonna take something to Smith, that's like something major and pretty obvious. But the problem with something that is you have to explain is that what's the best you could do. You could write in on a piece of paper and fold it up and put it in there. There's still no guarantee that the person who's actually opening it opens that piece of paper. You know what I mean? They're not gonna examine it like CSI, like everything in the box. They're going to pick it up, examine it,
Mm-hmm.
and this isn't unheard of. Like you think about it, like their job is to fix. The customer said this thing isn't working. All right, well, what do I got to go on? Our customer says this thing is stiff. So you pick it up, and let's say he sees something immediately and it's something else, but like you didn't notice it, but he noticed it because he works on these things all the time, and he fixes that
Hmm.
and he puts it back in the box and goes, yeah, I fixed it. But you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
because it was never explained, and you tried to explain it, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to say, it's not like it's not trying to say nothing, or trying to, what am I trying to say,
Well,
justify Smith and Wesson's lack of fixing something. I'm just saying that's such an unknown, unless you can stand there with the gunsmith like across the counter and go, oh, thank you for fixing that other thing, but no, what I'm talking about is this, you know, jam the button forward. And he goes, oh, I see what you mean now. Like, that's the only way I would want to do this with a gunsmith, like Tony said, at a shop, and probably going to get it done, not just better, but like you said, in an hour, and like done, instead of who knows how long it would take to come back from Smith. Best case
again,
scenario.
yeah, you're stuck with whenever Smith gets it back to you. And as somebody that worked in the shop that we took in lots for people, and it's like, well, what do you do about this? Um, like when we got it in, we had a work order. We put some tape on it or something, tape it on the lock, stick it in the thing. But what if it gets separated somehow? Now I'm looking at this like, oh, what's wrong with it? Oh, I don't know. Where's the slip? You know, things like that can happen. I'm not saying it does. I don't know how Smith has it set up. And you know, when you go, well, they'll do stuff better than a mom and pop shop. I don't believe that just based on the fact that they're a large company. But yeah, so have a gunsmith look at it. You can actually have a conversation with the person if you can, and tell them what's wrong. And if they notice something else, cool. But also, it helps build a relationship with the gunsmith and a company. Just saying, it's always better to actually meet real people and talk to them than sending it off to Smith and Wesson and just waiting for them to come back. Because Smith and Wesson quality control has slipped. Almost every review tells it. My friends are telling me this with their Smith and Wesson products, and it just is. I mean, a lot of companies are doing that. Colt's also having a problem with their own quality control. So it may be a
Just
good
want to
time
play
to,
devil's advocate again, but and I'm sure it's difficult to get machinists. On the other hand, machining is a job you learn and you get better with time, like an experience. So, you know, somebody who's, if a company loses a bunch of people and has to hire new people, you would expect that 5-6 years later they're a good company again. You know what I mean? They're getting better, right? Like they're going to learn from mistakes,
Mhm.
and whatever. But the other side is the internet. Uh, you know, if I'm guess what I'm saying is quality control stayed the same at the company, let's say over the 10 years. And that means, I don't know, 8 out of 100 guns go out broken because they just
Mhm.
didn't catch them. Not because they intentionally, just, you know, their quality control tests 6 out of a batch of 12 or something. And that's how many randomly, or, you know, whatever the odds statistically go out. So back in the day, you know, again, that happens, like, period. That's just how it is. Like, there's only a couple of companies where they actually look at every single gun. They just can't do that. It's unrealistic. So they're going to look at some number of the guns in batches to make, you know, to test things. So bad guns are going to go out. But, and this is where people are all going to speculate, but when those 8 bad guns that go out, you know, they're broken, there's a bad piece of metal, something like a chunk of thing didn't get drilled out all the way, somebody didn't screw something in, whatever the issue is, it's like literally a bad gun. But all the rest of them are fine, right? Like, I'm not saying the gun's bad, I'm just saying, like, this was not a correct one. And those 8 go out, there's always that one that, like, goes to a gunsmith and he drills it wrong. And he's like, I'm sorry, I destroyed your gun. I got to buy a new one for you. And, like, no one ever knew that gun was bad. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to come up with some scenario where, like, you know, or it gets in a house fire. Maybe that's more realistic. You know, somebody buys it, takes it home, house fire, never even shot the gun, but the gun's destroyed, has, you know, insurance buys them another one. So there's just, you know, some of these are just going to, and then I think the 100% number one issue, or number one, happens with those 8 guns out of 100 is somebody buys the gun, they shoot it once or twice, they put it in the safe, and then they buy another gun because somebody told them to, or they buy another gun because it looks cooler, or buy another gun because they're into something else, and their kids inherit that gun or something, like, you know, and then shoot it twice, and then their kids inherit it. Like, I think most guns are just sitting there lonely, and we don't want to talk about it. And that's how those 8 bad guns in 100 just never went discovered over the years. But now there's the internet. and those 8 let's say 6 of those 8 guns get discovered. Well, 4 of those people are online, and they're going to put their guns up there. And now all of a sudden in 2000 and whatever, there's 4 guns from Smith & Wesson out of 100 that are bad. Back in my day, no guns out of 100 from Smith & Wessons were bad. But in reality, there was always those 8 guns. I don't know if I painted the picture right, what I was trying to get at, but I think they got a couple of things working against them, that some of it's under their control. You know what I mean? Like some of it, again, like if they lose people because it's old, or they do bad business decisions and they got to hire new crew, that's, you know what I mean? Like that's an inevitability, I think, more than a bad business. I mean, I don't know if I could say a bad business decision. That's, I don't know the circumstances, but I'm just saying it's an inevitability of production, right? Like we're not going to get consistency until we have robots doing everything. And even maybe then, maybe robots will get better or something. Robots will have a bad day, like, oh, that one had a squeaky arm, and that, you know, all the blades came out funny.
Yeah, see, my whole thing is they get held responsible. Look, I hold them accountable for the stuff they produce. The internet does spread bad news, but I'm talking to people I spoke to in person. Like, understand when I suggest something, because when I go, hey, Smith & Wesson has a new firearm coming out, I expect that Smith & Wesson to work well, because they have that reputation. They've been around for over a century, right? Making these firearms, or making firearms. So regardless if it's 1 out of 8 or not, that one person out of 8 is going to howl to the moon to everybody. Hey, you have a recommendation for a good place to pick up popcorn? I tell you one thing about my recommendations: I don't recommend Smith & Wesson.
Yep.
Oh yeah, and popcorn is over Jerry down the street. So that's always going to be the case. But so it sucks, but it doesn't. You have this reputation. You have to enforce it. You have to work your ass off to keep it. And I think a lot of these larger companies have been coasting on their name for a really long time. And they were just expecting brand loyalty from people because they've been around, because that's the positive part about being around and having that name. You know, if it says Smith on the side, you got me, who's a firearms reviewer and a dude that shoots guns twice a month of other people's, and I'm checking out stuff all the time. And I'm like, look, if it said Smith on the side, it's probably a good gun. But with that comes, if it's a bad gun, you guys need to jump on it and take care of it. That's just it. That's just the way it is. You got to take the good with the bad when you're a freaking, leader in the industry, because they
Oh,
are.
for sure. And it's something like, it doesn't come up with Ruger. So I was going to say, like, it's kind of the double-edged sword, I guess, maybe, or like the dilemma you have when you're really good, you're not going to get a lot of returns. Therefore, your return department is going to suffer because they don't get a lot of practice, right? Like, you could say that's a spiral or something, but I don't know. I'm sure Ruger has the same issue. Whatever the number is in
Mhm.
100, goes out the same way with Ruger. And I don't remember anybody ever complaining about Ruger. The only complaint I've ever had about Ruger personally is that they won't let me tour their factory when I feel like it, or at all, because it's in Arizona and I feel like I should have some right to be able to tour their factory. But other than that, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, whatever Bill Ruger said back in the day, I'm still going to hold him accountable. But, the big but there is, like, they've kind of done a heck of a lot since, besides, you know what I mean? They didn't stop there and hold that position and try to justify it. They moved the hell on from it. Smith & Wesson has too, from their Hillary hole, I guess. They actually dropped the Hillary hole, right?
On some
Or
models.
in some models, yeah. At least that's a step. So I don't want to bitch about Smith & Wesson.
Mhm.
I'm not singing their praises as much as, like, just saying, in my experience, they're a dependable gun. Like, I don't get paid by them or nothing. I'm trying to think. Like, I don't really hate any Smith & Wessons. I don't really like the high bore axis Smith & Wesson semis from back in the day that everybody liked back in the 80s. But I don't have a problem with them. They don't bother me. Do they make shotguns? I think they made a few shotguns.
They had a shotgun. They had a double barrel shotgun they were making, double barrel pump action shotgun that they butted last year, and I got my hot little hands on it at the Great American Outdoor Show. and that thing sounded like a freaking maraca.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, did y'all get this built by Keltec? Like, is this a collab? I was not
was
really
it
impressed.
Turkish or was it theirs? Like a real
Yeah, it was theirs. I mean, it was. I don't. Okay, I didn't understand when I got it and I checked it out, and I was totally disappointed by it. I really didn't care. I'm like, what? Why would you have a bullpup double shotgun KSG type F off? So it was like as I'm holding it and asking the questions and racking it, and just the more I touched it, just my interest meter just kept sliding down. Just bang, bang. And I put it back on the wall and went, let's look at that lever action that you guys got going on. And I know doing this and being on your podcast, being on the Firearms, Insider Gun and Gear Review podcast, uh, and even what's the name of it, Cocked, Locked, and Unfiltered podcast. It would behoove me, even if I don't personally like the gun, to actually look it over and be able to answer questions. That people have, when they see it in a video from their favorite YouTuber who's blowing smoke up their tuchus, I should be able to at least give them an answer. And I swear, none of that meant anything to me as I was messing with that shotgun. I don't even know if they have it on the website anymore. I haven't seen one video on it.
Well, that's kind of the thing that people, I don't know if they do it so much at SHOT Show, but people don't. You have to go to SHOT Show for a number of years to figure out that they do this, but it's sort of what do they call that? Market research. It's sort of a test the waters opportunity, because really SHOT Show, we talk about it as media because we're media, but in reality, media is whatever it is, 2,500 people or something. Like it's way less than 3,000 people usually. Out of the 60,000 people that go to SHOT Show. So that is mostly gun shops.
Here it is. Here it is.
On their
This
website.
M&P 12. The M&P 12. They even have it under rifle on their own website. Seriously, guys? Rifle M&P 12. And it looks an awful lot like that double barrel shotgun that I was checking out. Yeah. What's the name of it? Because I did a video with them. Yeah, if you go there, yeah, it's on the page. Your M&P 12 series, hole 6, pump action shotgun, polymer. Hey, look, it's even state compliant in New Jersey. Oh, goody. With their MSRP of a bunch of nachos, because I don't know what you can and can't say here.
I think when we're just
it's
talking, it's got to be different. Well, I don't know. I don't want to assume shit. I guess I don't know.
It's a little over a ton, and it's a little over half a ton of nachos. That number. No, I don't want to take a quiz, Smith and Wesson. I just want to look at more. Was it DP12? Is that what it's called? I think that's what it looks like to me.
Well, when I first said it, I was thinking like back in the day. I was thinking back. Oh man, I think it's the show SWAT, the TV show SWAT that was on back in the olden days. But it might have been some other TV show. But I'm thinking it was that one. There's a scene in the beginning where or maybe it's an episode of one of the beginning episodes, but I can't remember if it's in the intro or if it's in one of those episodes. Anyway, they're in the armory or whatever you'd call like their room. And in this cage, like there's a cage in this room where there's either the guy's office or the guns. And on the wall of that cage, there's a Smith & Wesson poster. And I've seen that Smith & Wesson poster before. And it was like their law enforcement poster from whatever that was, like the 70s, let's say. And I'm thinking it was the 70s. And it was just it was a badass poster back in the day. And it had, Smith & Wesson shotgun, Smith & Wesson riot gun, Smith & Wesson gas launcher, Smith & Wesson, I can't remember if they made like a little sub gun, but it looked like an M1 carbine or something. But then, obviously they're
Dude,
pistols or they're
this
revolvers.
thing looks just this thing looks like it was made by Standard Manufacturing. Standard Manufacturing DP12 was a double barrel pump action shotgun. This thing, I'm looking at the lines, I'm looking at a lot of it, and it might be form follows function, and that's why they look similar. But it looks a lot like it's made by Standard Manufacturing Fort Smith. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Again, form may follow function. And a spaceship's gonna look like a spaceship. A knife's gonna look like a knife no matter who makes it. But yep. Yeah, I just picked it up and I wasn't impressed by it. And I'm like, you're Smith and Wesson. If you're gonna if you're gonna release a shotgun at the same time as you release a lever action, make the shotgun a classic. It's just me.
Well, I guess I was saying is I think SHOT Show, since it's mostly for gun shops and
Mhm.
people in industry who are basically the finger on the pulse, right? Like they know that the people who are there are either close to end users, or dealing with people that are close to end users, and dealing with fads and trends and blah blah blah. So they'll put stuff out on the table at SHOT Show, and they don't sometimes they'll say, "Hey, this is whatever, like prototype or something. Like, what do you think?" Other times, like that one famous example, some 3D printed something. Was it a revolver or something? And it was literally just a phantomware, whatever they call it. Vaporware. Sometimes though, like I can remember Tor's doing this quite a few times, and I know that other companies have done it. And if I think about it, I'll come up with more and more as I think about it. Because at least I'm only going to remember the ones that I liked and that never came through. But anyway, they'll put stuff out there and it doesn't have firing pin holes. You know what I mean? Like if you look at it really hard, like it doesn't actually work or nothing. Like there's no trigger stuff. It's just a trigger on a little wiggly. There's no actual mechanism up in there. And it's just like, they're throwing it on the shelf to kind of gauge. Maybe they have their salespeople testing to see, like counting how many people even pick it up, how many people look at it, how many, you know what I mean? Like that's the kind of stuff that they'll use to figure out, do I get requests about it? Like how many people from shops asked them versus how many people from, I don't think we were even register, honestly, because we're so weird and there's so few of us and we're so paid for, you know what I mean? So we're only going to care about it's going to pay us. So, but I think the gun shops and stuff, like they probably really do care if they put something out on the end cap or whatever it's called, the SHOT Show, and they don't get much reaction from gun shops, you're never going to see that thing again. And we as media might think it's the greatest thing. And of course, the media person at the company is going to go, this is our flagship. It's our favorite thing. This is the direction we're going. We're putting all our eggs in this basket. It's our favorite new thing. But yeah, nobody picked it up. It's like they didn't even think about it. Gone. It was an A/B test to begin with. And we get all worried about that. But in reality, like that's just the way it is, right? Like they can't assume shit. Like just because they want 40 caliber to be so good doesn't mean people want 40 caliber.
Hey, I mean, speaking of things that disappeared, and many people don't care, Lionheart Industry closed down. They made their announcement earlier this week. Done. They made a modernized, Americanized copy of the Korean service pistol, and I think they call it the LH9, but it was the Daewoo 9 or Daewoo DH9, and I thought it was great. It has this crazy ass. It has double action, single action, but it also has it when you rack the slide on the semi-automatic pistol, you can push the hammer forward. And what pushing the hammer forward to do, it would be put it in this weird, almost like easy trigger pull, just easy, really light double action trigger pull. That's not really double action. It's just like resetting the trigger forward, allowing that first shot to be as smooth as a single action shot. But you could leave it in double action if you want to, rack it and the hammer goes back down and you leave it double action. But you can just push it down and you have this smooth ass first trigger pull. And I thought that was good for a state like Jersey, where people are just new to carrying again. You know what I mean? We don't have this culture of people that carry. cocked and locked or even know how to actually pull a double action trigger. But I mean, truly operating double single action firearms today is like running somebody that knows how to drive a stick shift in the firearms community. Most people have no clue. But yeah, they went under, and that was the only company that officially came to Maj's 2020 Unity uh, Unity get together that we had at SHOT Show on stage. And Lionheart was the only company that actually showed up and expressed interest in growing the community. And I thought that was pretty cool. I remembered them. I had a conversation with them. And pretty much right after that, I don't know if it was right after or before, they sold to someone. And I can't remember whether it was new owners or old owners I spoke to. And they tried to make it work and they didn't get a lot of sales. So they finally closed. They announced it like 2 months ago that pretty much they were getting it. Pretty much if you wanted something, get it. I think they had 50% off sale. I even made a post about it to get people to be involved because in my mind, even if you're not buying it for a defensive firearm, it is a great forgotten weapon type thing that you can get in on now because they're not going to be making it anymore. And hey, people can do what they want to do. I just gave them the information. Go forth and be awesome. Just when you go, ooh, hey, how come nobody ever tells us about these things and they're forgotten weapons? Well, they are. They're dorks like us going, hey, there's a new thing. They're going out of business. You can pick it up. No one's making new ones. Even the Daniel Defense, what is that piece of garbage they made? They took the pistol that all the gun tubers were talking about that were supposed to be great, and this guy, him and his company went out of business. The Hudson M9, H2,
Oh,
H9,
right.
Hudson H9.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, it's great. It's awesome. All the YouTubers that got them for free told you how wonderful they were. I've
Did you
seen,
ever, have you shot stuff with a low bore axis like that? Like there's like
I've
3 of
shot,
them or 4 of them now.
I shot, I shot the Alien, the
Yeah.
Largo Alien.
Yep.
The first year it came out, I shot one of the initial 500 of them because one of the guys actually brought it to the diversity shoot. So multiple times he brought it to the diversity shoot, and a lot of people shot it. That was kind of cool. It had a different impulse. What else? I haven't. Yeah, that was the only one I fired. I fired the new one, the
That one,
latest
the
one
one
they
from
just came out with.
Czechoslovakia?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. Then I
That's
think
one of the
I
ones
didn't
from
shoot it the
Czechoslovakia.
first year, but a friend of mine who
Uh-huh.
I respect his opinion on shit, he told me about it at shot, and I was like, yeah, because I don't care about shit like this anymore. And I was like, yeah.
Mhm.
And I felt bad because he told me about it, and I could have been. I think nobody cared about it the first year, and I could have been like one of the people that care about it.
Mhm.
When it would have mattered, like when they probably would have cared that I was caring about it, but it didn't have any weight, so it wasn't like it would have mattered. Other than I just didn't have enough in my whatever, like it wasn't in my interest enough to whatever, like put it in my schedule of stuff to do. Anyway, so I missed out on it, and then the next year because of that, I seen it, and I didn't shoot it until like last year or something. But anyway.
Yeah. Um. So jumping on the bandwagon of new firearms. Look, to say I liked it, like when I saw 8.6 Blackout, thought it was really cool. Do I have a purpose of it? Live in a state that won't allow suppressors? No, freaking sucks. Do I think a larger version of 300 Blackout is cool? Yeah, and I'd say it. And I won't tell you it's the best thing since sliced bread. I'm like, hey, I'm interested in this thing. Seems pretty cool. Tried it, shot some here. It seems pretty cool. That's not me recommending it, but to watch these sycophants who get paid to have an opinion or to give you propaganda decorated as their opinion or a review, that bothers the heck out of me. That's why I don't like it. That's why I do what I do. I actually want to be truthful with people and go, yeah, I don't know, man. I tried it out. I don't know it that well. But
Well, we do have a question, but New York Outcast
yeah,
is
sure.
bringing up a point that's kind of more on topic or current what we're talking about. But he says, I'm cursed whenever a screaming deal comes around. It's when I really can't justify spending money. or it's got to be ordered online. So the additional BS with my state adds so much that the deal is gone. I understand that, right? It's kind of like Murphy's Law or whatever. But I was going to say, for me, at least in my life, it's been, and this is with guns, but probably with everything else, right? That when you're interested in a hobby, it'll, we have these cycles or these like fluctuations or whatever. And every once in a while, it just lines up. And all of a sudden, you are flush with cash and some good deals come along. And, you're able to stock up, get a collection going. At least that's how it's been for me. And then, you know what I mean? Like by the time you either accomplish what you've been trying to do, build the gun or whatever it is, and then, get the 2 or 3 Mosins or whatever it was, get the 2 different kind of shotguns you were looking for. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're able to do that, but then the frustrating part, the part you remember, is when all the times you can't, because like you're saying, it doesn't line up. And then I guess some people never have that issue, right? Some people just always have,
So
they can always buy whatever they want.
one New York outcast needs to stay out of my life because that's what's happening to me right now. I'm like, man, I really want this. But then after I get it, I order it online again, just like he is. Then I get it to Jersey. And I got to get it to an FFL who's going to charge me $100 because they have to make their profit. And then I also have to get, permission from my government, which is $50 for a pistol purchase permit. Well, now that Screaming Deal is $150 more expensive than it is online. What the frig? So yeah, I'm not budgeting for the Screaming Hot Deal. I also have to budget for the $150 worth of fees, taxes, and obstacles they're going to be putting my way to get the thing.
Or you have to
It's
wait for it
upsetting.
to be a massive deal just to make it a wash, because you got to put all that additional bullshit on it no matter what. Because if you bought it at full price, now you're paying even more.
Yep.
Well, I was about to bring up something, we were talking about the different pistols. We've talked about a couple of different pistols, revolvers, and things. So you can acquire easily a collection of firearms from pistols and handguns. You can acquire a collection of firearms from hunting, because hunting a deer is different than hunting a duck. And then and hunting a deer like out west is different than hunting a deer in Indiana. So you can end up acquiring different tools if you're doing, different hunting things. And then as I was thinking about that, it's super easy to acquire a collection with ARs. As you started talking about ARs, in fact, I know a bunch of people that just like building ARs, and there's so many different, not just configurations of the AR, but once you get into calibers, now you're talking uses and applications of it. So again, hunting and shooting, all kinds of stuff, just so many things with the AR. So it's not difficult at all to have a collection of guns. I'm wondering, I don't think anybody does this for some of the other stuff I've been doing lately. There's polls going out, I guess, surveys, I guess is the way to say it, except for Walk the Talk America, who does a survey. Are there any surveys being done in the gun community so that we can understand ourselves? Because I'm guessing now, it's hard to know. Like, one, I know too many gun people. Like, I don't know that many people that aren't gun people. I'm meeting more people who are not gun people, but it turns out as I meet people doing other stuff in my life nowadays, 2 out of 10 are gun people anyway. Just the natural. There's a lot of gun people out there. So I wasn't looking for them. They just, like, oh, wow, you're wearing a shirt that has calibers on it. Like, I'm pretty sure you're a gun person, because otherwise nobody else would think that's funny. And then, anyway, so just to survey to see stuff like that, like how long you've been a gun owner, what prompted you to be, all those kind of dumb questions, so that then we can have an actual consensus. Is that the way to say it? Whatever, some kind of information about ourselves. Anyway, I'm just curious what the average number of guns might be out there. And if we set it anonymously to somebody who we know isn't going to be doing something with that, we might actually get some idea of what that is. But I'll bet you, that like thing was going around, like, how many guns is normal? 5. why 5? Blah, blah, blah. It goes around in a circle. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I seriously think it's probably like close to a dozen for like the people I know. I bet you the average is a dozen. I bet you it would be unusual for people I know to have less than like 4. And I mean, even in real, like, well, I don't want to say in real life because I guess I don't know everybody, but I'm just from, and it's not like I'm keeping tally, but if we're talking about pistols and somebody could be like, yeah, my blah, 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 10 millimeter, blah, blah, my blah, 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 40 caliber, my blah, 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 whatever. So you must have one of those, right? Or at least you've had one. And then, we're talking about shotguns and that'll come up. And it's like, oh, okay, you are a gun owner, right? Like it's just something, okay, now when I listen to this person, I know they know what they're talking about. Like they've shot more than one gun before. You know what I mean? Like you start putting people into a different whatever category of like whatever. Oh, okay, this is a gun person, like not just a gun owner or whatever. And like I say, I don't know. With you again, I bet you it's tainted because so many people that own shops and stuff, and people that are instructors and things. An instructor probably is, I don't know what to say. Like a golf person would probably have one set of golf clubs. With golf instructors going to have 10, right? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
probably the same kind of ratio with gun instructors. So I don't know if you can even. But then again, you hang out with a
Yeah.
lot of people that don't even own guns, so I don't know where to put you. Like your experience, like it's tough.
Because my experience is unique in our circle, right? Um, it really is unique, and I think that allows me to go, hey man, we need to pump the brakes a little bit because we're talking way over people's heads when it comes to whatever, yada yada. Um, so I depends, like what's the normal amount of cars for you to own as an individual. It depends on what you do. Like, do you have, you do off roading? Do you do what do you call it? What the hell? What the hell they used to call freaking camping? Overlanding now. It's called
Yeah.
overland.
If you
On
drive
the
and you
weekends.
don't actually walk anywhere, now it's overlanding.
Yeah, now it's overlanding. Do you overland? Well, what's your daily driver? Well, your daily driver is probably something that gets like 50 miles to the gallon because you only drive 4 miles to work. But you have a Land Rover with giant freaking tires and a spare on the roof and whatever. So, or you like, so I don't know. Like I'm going to hang out with somebody now that probably has like 400 firearms at his house. And that's just me guessing.
Yeah, I mean, we know people like that. I know we know a couple of people that are, that's their thing. We're in this community, and plus, if like I was saying, like when I was flush, when I had money,
Mm-hmm.
hanging out. I was hanging out at a gun shop all the time, going to every gun show. Like I saw deals all the dang time. So that's why I didn't have money for a while, but it's definitely easy to collect or easy to acquire.
Yeah, because I mean, I come up with all kinds of reasons to have some stuff. Like right now, I think I need a 1911 at our diversity shoot. So we have one all the time. Now, my guys said, hey, get 45 ammo in and we'll bring it. But I can't expect them to have it every week, every couple weeks, right? Or when I'm doing, because in 2026, I may be sliding into Pennsylvania again. I have 2 ranges that said they're interested in getting us there. And when I do that, I have to actually build a crew in those states to be my guys. You know what I mean? I can't expect all of my guys in Jersey to drive like an hour and a half one way to hang out with us from 6 until 9 and then drive an hour and a half back home after we hang out in the parking lot for like an hour, meeting and greeting people. Anyway, what we're talking about? Oh yeah. So yeah, I come up with reasons to just have like, hey, if I have a 1911, like it's mine. They can come to every diversity shoot. And I can put it in a port and people can shoot it. So I need I need a budget 1911, like an entry level 1911 that the regular person who just wants to punch that check mark has, right? I need that. And then I need a custom 1911. I need that because there might be somebody who has 10, 15 handguns at home and would like a really nice one. if they're going to step into the 1911. So I need to have one of those
Well,
on hand to show.
I think there's another reason to have like both ends of the spectrum on, and I mean it could be any gun, but a 1911 you might as well. But a 1911 is a good contrast to anything else, like any kind of plastic frame gun. But
Yeah.
but a good one and a economical one, you're going to probably get a difference in everything. Recoil, impulse, just whatever, all the different ways you can describe the shooting sensation or the shooting
100.
experience, right? Like, and then you can say now, when you look at the gun counter and you see one's, whatever the parameter is, it's a mid-size, it's a whatever sub caliber, whatever it is, right? Like the two guns that you're looking at, and one's $300 and one's $800, even though you haven't shot them, now you have shot two different ranges of guns. You'll kind of understand the difference there, and don't expect that gun to be a little clunkier here. Expect that gun to be a little more refined over here. So I think that's a good thing to show anybody who's new. That, I mean, you would do that with bicycles or something, right? Like, here's the one from the Walmart, and here's the one from the fancy place that, really nice bicycle or whatever.
Well, that's the way we do. I mean, look, we have our ports set up, right? There's no doubt my guys buy stuff. Oh, excuse me, I apologize. All along the spectrum. So they have Canics there. They have Canics, they have Glocks, they have Walthers, and they have Berettas. I mean, it just Beretta, M9s. And it goes along, but it's what they can afford, and it's what they want you to put like 200 rounds through that day. But don't expect them to bring that firearm to 20 events a year, because it's not going to happen. So if I have it, yeah, it can roll through those 20 events a year. Like, I want to introduce people to the 1911. I can introduce you to Beretta M9s, but also in my mind, why not bring a Gerson in, or Daria, copy of that M9 for $300, and also have it parked beside, the M9A4 from Beretta that you can see what $1,200 gets you. It just gives you an idea. I'm trying to introduce people through any means necessary to firearms, whether it's to get them in just to touch and fondle the new thing, and then, haha, got you. Here's some advocates. And so we had, at the last diversity shoot, which was Thursday, at Gun for Hire range, we ended the season, and we had 4 people speak. One was Valentina, who runs something called Naturally Armed, where she brings women into the firearms community. She's a Black woman, and she appeals to all women, but she invites them to events outside the range to actually introduce them to firearm safety and have this discussion. So her initial meetings aren't in the gun shop. You're not even touching a firearm, and it's conversation. And then she does another one where she talks about safety and just gets people prepped mentally. And then the third time she meets with them, it's at a range. Now they know each other. They've created this like group of friends, and they're supportive of each other. And now they're at a range, and she introduces the firearms that way. She sells merch and she does all that. But now they're shooters, and they've met other women, and it's not just first time they're meeting them is at a range with guns going off around them, and they're nervous, and they've built this thing up. They're only thinking about the gun range because they already know the women around them. It's pretty cool. So she was there, she spoke. We also had the Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners, Jim Howard. He came up, talked about that. We had the NRA representative from the Northeast, Joe Petrolina. No, damn, I combined 2 names. What's Joe's last name? Anyway, he came up and spoke. He also runs the New Jersey Coalition, one of the New Jersey coalitions that are online, and they're in multiple lawsuits here. And he also travels around the state, and he's one of the people working, Joe Laporto. He's working to get the townships to give back half the money for carry permits, because the way Jersey conned these towns or bribed these towns into taking, New Jerseyans' money for carry permits is to give half the money to the town that the permit costs. So it's like, the town gets $125 out of the $250 fee. So Dan Dan Francesco, the mayor of Englishtown, started it in his town, where he found a way to word it to actually refund people their money directly back when they go and pay for the fees to get their carry permit in his town. He refunds them the township's part of the blood money. And this guy came and spoke and talked about what they're doing around the state and how we can join the fight and how important it is to still be part of the new NRA, because the NRA is actually turning around faster than we think. And then we had John Petrolino, who's the Penn Patriot, who writes for Bearing Arms and who does a lot of reviews, and who also did an expose showing everyone the lie and the racism in New Jersey about how they're actually discriminating against Black gun owners here, turning them down for carry permits in the state at a rate of 10-1 versus white gun owners statewide, and in one county 50-1. And this is after you already own the firearm, got the permit, passed all the background checks, and you could have owned these firearms in this state for 20 freaking years, but all of a sudden they say, oh, you can't have a carry permit because, for the safety of the community. So I have like 75 of them, and I've had them for 25 years. And I have carry permits in almost every other state in the union. What makes New Jersey the thing that will turn me into some kind of unsafe monster with this gun? Oh, they don't have to answer that. And when asked, the governor and the attorney general won't answer that. But we had him there and spoke, so it was really great. And
that's not new.
It was
I mean, you guys have had that issue is now years old, right?
What's that? That issue?
Yeah.
Yeah, he exposed it. He exposed it over a year ago. And this is what killed me, because it came from a conversation him and I had, and him just being inquisitive, because I asked a question and he was like, hey, I don't know, but I'll find out.
Interesting.
And that's what kicked it off. And he did it, and he did what's just called a FOIA request. And after he got the information and put it out, the very next day they changed the rules about FOIA requests in the state of New Jersey. It passed legislative work. How crazy is that?
Well, the hardest thing about it is that it's a bullshit situation, and it's something that's identifiable. Maybe that's the way to say it. Like, it's something that can be pointed to, and it isn't. And that's the frustrating part. Like, okay, it just happened. All right. 6 months ago. All right. I know it's been more than a year. I thought it was a couple of years, but it seems like a couple of years that it's been on the table. And I don't like knowing about shit, because it's not like I go out studying shit anymore. I don't take the time. I shouldn't say I don't have the time. I don't take the time. I use my time for other shit because I have to, or I had to. But the time that I do take, I don't investigate the bullshit that's happening in other states, but I just talk to people like you and Toby and Outcast, and right there I'm covering New Jersey, Massachusetts, and New York, right? And it's not like every time we actually do talk about this kind of shit, but when I'm talking to Outcast, it's usually about whatever topic or whatever bullshit we're talking about at the time. But it'll come up, like I'll understand, I'll understand, I can understand what's happening because I'm kind of tuned in. If I think about Washington and Oregon, I know people there too. California, I suppose. So, I'm aware of what's happening in these other states, as well as Colorado. I don't want to leave that out. Right. So what's frustrating to me, though, is because I'm not even looking for this stuff anymore. So I don't consider myself like, oh, I'm different than other people because I'm an advocate and I care about this. So I'm digging it up. Like, I'm just discovering it like a regular person would discover it. And it's too much to juggle. It's too much to keep track of. And the biggest problem, and I'm going to say this because I've said this every single show probably, what the hell? Like, how come we have to do this? Why isn't this ball being picked up by somebody? And there should be a database, at least a page somewhere, where there can be like memes or infographics or something, like when somebody contributes something to the pile, like here's what's happening in New Jersey and here's a way to talk about it. Here's a thing that's happening in New Jersey. Here's some talking points. Here's a thing. And here's like an info graphic thing you can use on your social feed or something. But you know what I mean? At this point, what the hell? Just frustrating that in a time when we could be picking up so many things at one time and moving the ball, we don't. And it's like, how do you get that momentum started? But whatever, that's nothing new. Like, that's just the frustration of like, how come the world ain't perfect? Dang it.
Dude, it's crazy to me. Like, I'm involved in this. Like, I don't know every bit of legislation. I don't know the wins we're having in other states and Supreme Court victories. I don't. Because, like you said, look, nothing that happens is going to change the fact that I'm doing what I do and I'm going to keep doing what I do. Because we still need people to understand this is civil right, and we need new blood in here to actually fight for the right. And they need to come from every demographic. So, regardless of what happens, if they make concealed carry nationwide tomorrow, if they dump the NFA for Christmas and they just get rid of it, nothing changes about what I do except maybe I can get cooler guns now. You know what I mean? That's the only thing that changes about the work I put in. Because it's never going to be perfect. Because again, someone asked me to do a quote. What's your quote? Firearms related quote or freedom related quote. And my freedom related quote is from um, Coretta Scott King. I think I told you that, and I've used it before. I'll go ahead and read it. Matter of fact, I have it saved. Struggle is a never ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. This is never stopping. They're never going to stop pushing back against us. And we can never stop pushing the other way. There is no compromise. There's no reaching across the aisle. The answer is no. Not only no to whatever your proposed thing is, but I want my freedoms back. I want to be able to order this stuff through a catalog and have it delivered to my house like, I don't know, my grandfather was able to do from the Sears catalog. Like, that's what I want. Because by making the world safer, by not allowing that to happen, and I did the air quotes, sorry, by making the world safer and not allowing you to order stuff through the mail because of the Kennedy assassination and the Martin Luther King Jr. assassination, because they ordered their firearms through the mail. Well, what you made it do is easier to discriminate against people by having to go through an FFL. The FFL said no, and giving permission to the state, and the state saying no, just like they're doing in Jersey because it's based on the race of the color of your skin. And they're still doing it now, and they did it then. They will always use for your safety as an excuse to take your rights away, and there's no way I'm ever going to stop fighting against that because it's all a lie. So that's why I do what I do. And I'm not going to stop.
Speaking of safety, this is a question that came in from the website from Tay. Do 75% frames require FFL transfers? The quick answer is that would depend because it's not uniform across the country. There's some places that I think New York Outcast was even saying, like in New York, it's not even a thing. So there might be some states where you have an issue because they don't allow whatever they're going to call building a gun. But other places aren't even going to consider it, what's the word, like traceable, trackable, whatever. Like they don't care about it at all. So it kind of depends. Without more info, it's hard to answer other than to give you that vague answer. Are 75 or 80%ers a thing in Jersey?
The percent makes no difference. It's just the percentage they're making up. But you can't make your own firearms legally in New Jersey, so you can't have it. You just can't have it. Not even does it require FFL transfer? You can't have it.
Oh,
Now,
cool. Got an
because
actual.
this one,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
what?
No, go ahead.
No,
I'm interrupting you.
if you make one, right, like the only way you can sell it is to actually contact the ATF, give it a serial number. Then now that it has a serial number, you can sell it like any other firearm. But it has to have a serial number for you to sell it.
And that's
thought.
because in New Jersey, once it is in a configuration that turns it into a gun, like they defines it as a gun or whatever, now there's all these requirements that New Jersey puts on it, and that one of them has a serial number. So you'd have to put it there.
Yeah, you made a gun. I mean, you created it. It now became a firearm to them. But yeah, you can't manufacture stuff at home because whatever. Yeah.
So we got a real question from an actual listener. So I have an old Maverick 88 12 gauge I got after my dad passed. Sorry to hear that. Never shot it. Should I hang on for dear life? Should I hang on to it for dear life? I'm assuming. I would. We've kind of been talking about. Well, I've been thinking about. I don't know how much we've been talking about. I've been ranting a little bit about collecting and the ownership of a bunch of different guns. I don't think we lose anything by owning more than one gun. What do maybe some floor space in the house, right? Like, because you have to have another safe at some point. But a shotgun, well, I don't like shotguns all that much, but here's what I will give shotguns. They are so easy to have in the safe. Like, there's no bolts hanging off of them normally. There's no charging handles, which is like AKs and stuff have charging handles sticking out of them all over the place. There's no magazine sticking out of them. Except for them and lever actions, like you can have a billion lever actions in shotguns. You know what I mean? Like almost every kind of shotgun, but especially double barrels, and in this case, a pump, right? It's basically like having a pipe. So I would definitely hold on to it. And then but mainly because of the sentimental, right? Like the attachment of being the family gun, pass that down type of thing.
Okay. To me, sentimental value. One, I don't like. I've never gotten rid of a firearm. So let's put that out there. I'm not saying it's against my religion, but it comes close. Also, understand that that was from your dad, and that thing you're not going to get a lot of money for it, and just to sell it, like if you had a bill that needed to get paid, and truly with a Maverick 88, you're not getting more than $200. Truly, if you sell it to another person, you might get 200. If you sell it to a gun store, you probably get $100 for it. So selling it really, unless you need that money, you're not getting anything for it. Another thing that it can be is it can be something that saves somebody's life one day. It could be that shotgun that you give to your niece because she got a stalker and she's asking, "Hey, Uncle, you're joking, Diaz." Uncle, you're joking, Diaz. This guy keeps following me around. All right, pull up. Doom. Hey, here's my dad's gun. Here's your great uncle's gun. Here's your granddad's gun. As the last thing. Also, you can introduce people to firearms with it. It's all kinds of things you can do with it. Because selling it's gone. That's it.
All right.
Having
Problem is, I don't know shit about it. So a Maverick 88, he's probably describing what it is here, and I just assumed he meant sell it, but he's saying a pistol grip pump.
Oh.
So I think a Maverick 88 is probably what that meant, and I just didn't realize it. So he says, I was talking about when you shoot it. So he's talking like in reality, like, literally, I guess. Should I hang on to it when you're talking a pistol grip? In my opinion, I'm a grown man, so I'm different than somebody who's not, I guess. I understand that, but I think that the idea of shooting a small shotgun is a bunch of crap. That's just some movie bullshit. The same way that cars explode and you can shoot helicopters with like 2 shots or something. Look at the Serbu. Like, that should show you really quick that like anybody can shoot a really, really, really tiny shotgun in 12 gauge. Even if they're aluminum, which probably a Maverick is, right? So in other words, the gun isn't like a big steel thing helping you with weight or whatever. 12 gauges are not that bad. So I mean, yeah, hold on to it, but it's not going to knock you down or anything. I mean, and again, I don't know how
Oh,
big anybody is, but
shoot that
it's not
gun,
gonna,
bro. No, it's a Maverick 88. All he's talking about is a cruiser variant. It just has a pistol grip instead of a full stock.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, go buy a stock for it because that pistol grip is going to send all kinds of freaking recoil straight back into your hands. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt far more than it should. Put a regular
It's
freaking
just not,
stock on it.
it's awkward to shoot. Like you have to
Yeah.
shoot it from a pistol grip. So your arm just has to be in a weird way, or otherwise you got to hold it up as if it had a stock and then you look weird shooting it. So everybody I know that's ever had a pistol grip, unless you're trying to prove something, because I don't know, you know what I mean? Like because it's supposed to look
Mm-hmm.
small or something. Thing is,
I
those
don't
aren't
know.
small. Those aren't that small. So anyway,
Yeah.
it's just awkward. Like Tony says, grab a stock, get a youth stock if you're concerned about it,
Yeah,
you
get a
know,
used stock.
size or whatever.
100%.
Yeah, but stocks
Get
are
get
just
a used stock.
or shooting from a stock is just way easy on a shotgun. It's like the way to do it.
You've stocked some bird shot. Go have fun with your dad's shotgun. Go introduce somebody else new to shooting. And it can be that defensive shotgun. It takes, you can pretty much put everything on that Maverick 88. You'll have to look into it, but I think you can put most of the thing on the Maverick 88 that you can put on the Mossberg 500, Mossberg 590. I'm talking about damn near all the furniture and accessories and everything. So you can turn that into anything. And I would. Yeah, heck,
Yeah,
turn it into
exactly.
a functional home
You've got
defense
like
guy.
the frame, right? And you can make that anything, like you
Yep.
just said. And then when you start
Yeah.
talking about painting it and stuff, come on.
Uh-huh. Heck yeah. Do it all.
If
And
your
guess
dad was
what? If you
so
rattle can it, yeah, and if you rattle can it and it sucks, you can just blast it off and
yeah,
have it redone. Who cares? It's an inexpensive gun. You got it. It's a very good base. It's very good for what it is. I'd get rid of that pistol grip only because it makes it more painful to fire. And if you want something with a shorter stock, youth model, youth stock works because it has a shorter length of pull, like between 12 and 13 inches. Most shotguns have like a 14-inch or 14.5-inch pull, pretty much set up for you to be hunting or shoot from a bladed position. And modern day, we pretty much shoot more squared up. And also, when you have that shorter stock, you can introduce smaller statured people to it. Definitely, I would use it and have fun with it and think about your dad sometimes when you're doing it.
there you go. And we don't talk about that enough. I don't want to hijack the show too much because as you were talking about stuff earlier, I kept thinking about collections, and then I kind of riffed there about like, you know, you can get a pistol collection pretty quick just by buying bargains or just by chasing fads or like just by existing in the gun community for like 2 or 3 years. But same
Mm-hmm.
thing with like rifles and shotguns and everything else. So you got me kind of spinning off on different ways to address like a collection because what you were also talking about here, um, and I'm going to jump to this one first, I guess. When you were talking about her approach of like, let's talk, like you're interested in guns, great. Let's talk about guns, you know, kind of off site, get to know each other, eventually go to the range. Like that's all cool for people that want to, whatever that approach or that transition or that, or whatever that's called, like that introduction, I guess, into guns. Then as you were saying that, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was thinking, I hope it doesn't stop there because those I'm assuming ladies, but those people
Mm-hmm.
that are going into that pipeline, I'm going to say, if we're allowed to say pipeline there, into the gun ownership, I want them to be advocates. So I want their pipeline to continue past like that, you know, experience for initial experience and then being comfortable with guns, but then to eventually, they don't have to become advocates, but at least understand that their voice matters a shit ton more than anybody else's
Mm-hmm.
voice at the time and it doesn't matter who those people are because the new people are the ones that are most passionate and come from whatever the was, right? Whatever the hell they came from that was not guns. You know, it might not have been anti-gun, but it was whatever it was. Like they understand that 100% because they just can't, they literally just walked out of it and now they understand guns. So that like, I don't know what to call that, but like that phase change, like whatever, like that brain
Mm-hmm.
that has just made that transition is like whatever. It's like our stem cells, right? Like that's what we need. we need to be like interviewing those people immediately. So that's one of the
Yep.
things that, is so valuable about what you're doing. But right, like, but like, how do we take that and bring that to these other organizations? Because there's organizations that are bringing people on board. There's like the shooting sports. That's the other thing that was big news in the world this week, is the whole, like, did you see how USPSA is going to be dissolved?
I heard it was. I saw a headline that it was going to be dissolved. I
Crazy,
didn't
right? Like
know
an
what
entire
led to it or
shooting
what
sport,
happened.
a major shooting sport, is on the, like, a brink of being dissolved by like a court case. And like, that's the kind of news that nobody's paying attention to, because we don't really have that many people paying attention to really gun news anymore. We talk about industry, what's on sale this month, bullshit news, but you know what I mean? Like, we don't talk about the actual just guns. But anyway, made me think about, and I hope that her pipeline, I keep calling it a pipeline because I'm used to military shit.
Mhm.
So whatever you call, like, the the introduction / transition / whatever you call, like, the fate, the rest of it into the, because I mean, I'm assuming at some point she lets the ladies go, like, okay, now you're a gun owner,
So,
come back if you need me.
so what? She works. She has come to my events, and spoken there, and it helps also make the ladies who come into me for the first time. It's like, oh, wait a minute. There's more
Yeah,
than
no,
one.
there's
Oh,
more
there's
to
a
it.
lady running.
Like, it's not
Yeah.
just like
So
Tony
now there's.
saying, here's guns, see ya. It's like, here's guns and
Mhm.
here's some stuff you can do.
Exactly. And that's what I hope to do. And that's what I pretty much inform people. I'm not just here to introduce you to firearms today. I want you to be able to come out. What I want to turn this into is not only a hobby, but a hobby you care about enough that you'll vote for its existence and vote against people trying to kill it. I don't need you to all of a sudden vote red because, again, I live in New Jersey. Voting red doesn't mean you voting pro gun. But what it needs you to do is actually change your representative going, hey, buddy, I'm with you. I'm a born and bred Democrat, 5 generations deep. But if you vote against my gun rights, don't plan on winning a primary. I'm voting for the pro 2A Democrat. No one exists like that. Then they will run because and it's like, what? That's what I hope to build. I hope to build a grassroots support of people across the board, regardless of their politics, that understand the Second Amendment is a natural right that predates the Constitution, but that's codified by the Second Amendment, and they're willing to fight for it. So, however it takes me to get these people in, that's what I'm doing. And if it takes allying with a lady who's doing it, with the LGBT community that's doing it, with just 100% groups that's like NAGA, that what National African American Gun Association.
Gun Owners Association, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, great. I'm with them, and we're all together, and we're fighting for this. And I'll ally with them. I'll have them speak at my events. I don't care who you are. We need to grow this together. And the way to do that is welcome people aboard without gatekeeping, not going, hey, you have to care about this topic that's not Second Amendment related if you want to hang out with us at the gun range. No, 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 no. That's how you cause divisiveness in this one topic. Let's stick to this one topic. And then when we start talking about this, we can actually have conversations about other stuff and go, wow, the only way we're different is we sway a little bit different on this one topic. We're not even 180 degrees separated because, well, we're having a conversation and we're not going by what the news says you believe. I've asked you and we've had a conversation and we're not that different. Yeah, no. Yeah, the media loves pushing the separation. And when we get people together at our events and they're talking to each other, it is like eye opening for some of them because they don't talk to people that believe in something different than them, or they work in an environment where you just don't talk about politics or things like that. And now it's like a breath of fresh air that they can actually have differences with people and cool. But yeah, I ask you not to wear your, MAGA hat to my event, not because I don't think you have the right, but because it gives people, there's a stigma placed upon you and people assume some stuff about you that might not be true, and it'll be unfair to you to wear it because you don't know what it means to them. Your hat. They may think it means like you're a blatant racist. And it's like,
Right, and
that's the
now you're
first thing.
fighting that, and that's the whole point, like,
Hmm.
who gives a shit? That's a whole other fight, like, and it might be a
Yeah,
virtuous fight, like, go fight that because it doesn't mean that, but
yeah,
we're having a gun conversation here, and now we're having 2 conversations, and the gun conversation already got squelched because this one
yep.
was the first thing they seen, even though they showed up for the
And
gun
the funny thing
conversation.
is, and I'll tell you, and I'll bring this up because it happened at one of my events with a friend of mine who wore his MAGA hat. And Chris is white, and he was talking to my cousin, and this particular cousin is black, from Philly. And she's talking to him because she's like that. She's a, she's not assuming stuff. But I look over and I see it, and I go, "Hey, Chris, I love you, and you're my boy. You're talking to my cousin. She's not looking at you like you're a racist or anything, but I would imagine in my head it clicked when I looked over and saw a black lady talking to you, and you rocking that hat. I was like, other people might talk to you too, but they've made up their mind that you might not be the type of person they want to have a conversation with you just because you have that hat on." He's like, "Dude, I didn't even think about it. I apologize." I'm like, "No reason to apologize. You didn't do anything wrong, but you just didn't think about that. And you don't have to," but he was like, "No, no problem." Took the hat off. See, the crazy part is Chris is married to an Asian woman. He's not racist at all. He's my friend. Been to his house multiple times. But you'd have to fight through all of that just to find out he's a decent dude. Or you can take the hat off and people just talk to you
Well,
like you are and
this
find out
isn't
you're a
like,
decent dude.
bunch of people got up and said, "You know what? I'm gonna find a new thing to be fucking pissed off or triggered, I guess, about," right? Like, I'm gonna wake up and
Hmm.
be triggered about a new thing today. But we've dealt with, I don't know, a number of years. I don't really care enough to think about when it started, but at some point we started getting indoctrinated or like fucked with to deal with this, like, you either this polarization of, you either got, with the Trump thing, you gotta like Trump or hate
Hmm.
Trump, and that taints so much shit, like, and I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe that's taken the place of shit. Just think of another controversial thing throughout time, but I mean, there's been things, Pepsi, Coke, as a neutralish one, right? But there's been things throughout time that like get on people's nerves, and this new one is just like, it's that, like, you, and I, as you're saying that, I'm thinking of a couple of other instances that over the last years or so where just misunderstandings of,
Hmm.
how do you say, like, again, like, I'm gonna bring it to like a Harley, the motorcycle thing. If you're gonna wear like a Harley motorcycle bandana and all that kind of shit, whatever you call like the biker stuff, like the hardcore
Colors,
biker
yeah.
stuff, like leathers, and just look intimidating to like little old ladies, and people who like are going to want to take their kids across the street from you because you just look like you might go nuts and drink too much beer and start throwing stuff around or something. If you're going to push that impression on people and then be like, "No, I'm here to be a gun advocate," or like, "I'm here to be an advocate for water rights," or whatever the hell your thing you're trying to do is, you've tainted it by looking like a biker. Now, if the goal is to be like, water rights activists can look like bikers, if that's your goal, all right, fine. So now you gotta go, when's the time to bring that up? Like, when they're trying to do 6 other things, or like when it's a really sensitive time, like, does this your one opportunity? You only have one opportunity. You got to do it now. Or are you choosing to do it now because you just want to be a dick? And what I mean? That's something that we're dealing with, where people are either choosing or not choosing to understand that what they're doing is triggering people. And then on the other side, people are choosing to be triggered or not be
Hmm.
triggered. And it's like, again, there's like this weird time where we've been like screwed with as a culture to like, like, oh, if you get triggered, or if you're triggering, that's what you got to worry about first, and then worry about what the conversation's about. But I insist, I think this isn't, I'm not like, "Oh no, it's all bad and it's we're failing because of this." One, it's a transition that we've dealt with over and over. You already kind of mentioned it. We've had uh long history of humanity of like dealing with understanding communication and deciphering it and making sense of the propaganda or truths and lies and all that kind of stuff, that is being fed. And this is just, we're going to get past this like we would anything else. But it's also, I think, because I really do think we're getting to a point where we're going to have a lot fewer reasons to hate each other, a lot fewer reasons to push borders, to complain, to move. Once people are satisfied where they are, they're not running. And most of the problems are drugs, really, right now, are drugs, really. Because why else are people fleeing? The people don't flee because of famine too much. They're fleeing because criminals are killing them. And almost always I don't want to say almost always, but I think it's almost always when criminals are in charge, it's because there's a drug economy, either opium over in the Middle East or the whatever it is, fentanyl shit coming out of Mexico. And I guess a little bit of cocaine coming out of South America still. But whatever, right? Like those are the people that are the most horrible, violent. And then like the people with oil, they're not violent, except for wars, I guess. They're not like violent to each other because they got oil wells. They're just spending their money or whatever. But anyway, I guess that's comments on international. I think we are seeing them fucking with us though, because we're getting to a place where we're going to have fewer and fewer reasons to be upset with each other. And they know that they only can play these cards for so long. Like Nancy Pelosi got rich from knowing what's being dealt with. Nobody else did. But I'm convinced that the AI that they got you so worried about is going to help democratize information, make it understandable. And the stuff that everybody they're trying to make us very afraid of is going to make it where they're just impossible to hide. Like they can't hide in the bureaucracy like they used to. Look at the Doge shit, whether or not you like that or not. Just the idea that we're willing to shine a light in the corners. I think, who said it? You did it. I think it was you. You said something like some Marines got busted for saying shit or something, right? And you were saying something like, if you ain't been there, then you don't know. And or maybe Chris Cox or somebody said, or Chris Knox said, if you ain't been there, you don't know, or something. And it's one of those things. Like, I agree, right? Like you can't know what it's like to be walking other people's shoes or whatever. But I think some people are just not even trying. Like, well,
they want to be angry.
Exactly. They're looking for a reason to be insulted, even though they have no fucking skin in the game. Like, get out of here. What are you even talking about?
None whatsoever. I've seen it. What the frick do we call it? They say they get like an endorphin high from just being outraged. It's like, what the frick is wrong with you, dude? Don't you want to live a life where no. I want to be able to log on, see something that just gives me an outlet to lash out at someone that doesn't believe in lockstep what I believe in, even if it's pedantic. I'm willing to fight and argue with this. And it's like, get help. Just get help.
Okay, so I was putting on screen here. Do you watch Gun Club Radio? And he doesn't, I don't know if he does it really on a regular, but
what,
I'm subscribed. Aaron? Yeah, I think that's what he called it. It used to be, he changed it a while back. But anyway, he does it.
Yeah, he changed the name.
Mm-hmm. He just did one with a guy, and it was, I can't remember. It was like the G40 technique or something. And it was basically a guy who, I'm trying to remember now. He was an instructor, and he figured out a way to bring people. It was basically saying, like, if you're looking at it like, I want you to, I'm assuming you didn't see the interview because you know what I'm talking about. But he was interviewing a guy who's an instructor who's come up with a theory. He doesn't come up with. He just has a way to describe the idea that if you're going to train for something, the training isn't necessarily the conclusion. The training is the vehicle to get you there. So I think he said something like, if you're going to go on vacation, your drive to the airport isn't what you're selling the people. It's the vacation that you're selling the people, like the experience and the stuff that they're going to do while they're, traveling. And then the trip to and from the airport is a necessity right? It's a thing that needs to be done to get you to the vacation, but the vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was doing it more of like, as a marketing, like if you're selling your job as an instructor, or your service, I guess, as an instructor. And he was also relating it to like being a martial artist, where nobody goes in and says, I'm going to take a class or two at white belt level or whatever it is, and then see how that goes. You're starting that journey towards black belt, and that you're going to be doing this for some time, and you're going to be accomplishing things, and you're going to be challenged, and you're going to learn, and you're going to explore and grow and learn more, right? And he's explaining that, like, as a firearms instructor, you could do the same. And I just thought that was interesting, and I was wondering if you'd seen that, because it sounds like I'd like to hear an interview going back and forth, but I'm just wondering if like I was kind of saying, and I know you're describing her shit like in an elevator speech. She's not describing her own shit here, but I was just wondering if she uses that attitude, or that like theory, I guess, of because it kind of sounds like that was her whole approach to get people to the gun shot range, not just here's guns, see ya. Wondering what the other side of that is, and if she does that approach of like, you're going to, and then even he was using that approach of, or that analogy of the black belt thing, like or I'm assuming the analogy to the black belt thing would be, your goal is to be a person who can be confident if there's an altercation, not like you're looking for a fight, but that if there's a fight, you're not new to the fighting. Like you're going to be a capable in an altercation if there is one, but you're also going to try to avoid it and blah, blah, blah. That's really the goal of having a black belt, not necessarily just going to classes or like to, the social activity. Those are, extra pieces of it, or like, parts of it. But your goal is to be able to just be able to confidently walk around, as someone who's able. And same kind of thing with guns, right? Are we able to, as instructors, or is she able with her, or does she include that as part of her overall, does to the ladies consider, is the goal to just be a comfortable lady in society, or is it to be a lady who's training, or is it to be a lady who's a gun owner? I don't know if there's that big a difference, if it's subtle or not, but I was just wondering if, imagine if you would have seen that, it made more sense maybe.
I don't know. I've never actually been in one of her classes that she's taught. Again, because now I've promoted it. Let's not get that twisted. I've promoted her, but I haven't been in any of her classes. I've been at the setup. I've helped set it up. I've helped promote that. And she's come to mind talking about hers, but as in just sitting there and going, "Oh, this is what it's all about," or how it's broken down. No, I've watched her videos that she put out about her ladies speaking about what it's done for her, for them. You know what I mean? Like what they think and how it changed their mind about firearms itself. But no, I haven't gone and I can tell you exactly what they say at her events.
So we got a bunch of people watching, and it's hard to say. I guess right now there's a bunch of people on YouTube, but it kind of goes back and forth. A lot of times our majority of our viewers are on X, but and they never really contribute that I'm aware of. Maybe it's possible that they're saying stuff and it just doesn't come through on the software, but I do see stuff coming through from Twitch. So it's spam, but at least I see stuff coming through from Twitch. But either way, I'm going to throw this out there. Did you see that there's the new YouTube? I don't know if we talked about that. Or did you see there's the new gun streamer? I don't know if we talked about that last week.
No, I heard something about Gunstream. I just don't.
So Gunstreamer was a place where you could put your YouTube video, or you could put your videos back in the 2018, let's say. And I think it lasted till maybe 2020. So it's for a couple of years, and they never really got off the ground, but they really had a good plan, a good like concept until YouTube. Well, YouTube had already had a lot of live streaming, but I think the people on YouTube, or I should say the audiences of YouTube, during the bullshit of 2020, obviously a lot of people started paying attention to the live streaming more than they would have in the past, or like became way more comfortable with it and stuff. So just as that was really becoming a thing, Gunstreamer decided to go in the direction of trying to attempt to fund content creators in a way that would compete with AdSense or something. But they did that at a time when streaming was becoming way more popular, and you could say, hey, if you super chat, I'll like you better. And you'd get a shit ton of super chats, and people were making thousands of dollars a month out of nowhere on YouTube. And there was no way they were going to compete with that ever, like never. And anyway, they kind of went under. And it was frustrating because I really thought they were good people. Like, they were cool people. I met them a bunch of times, and they were legit. Like, they were trying to do something decent. They just really didn't want to do streaming, I guess, because I don't know what I'm supposed to say now over the years later. But they were aware of streaming. It wasn't an easy thing or an inexpensive thing. It was a very expensive thing to do. And they had to do it there was like sort of like 3 ways to do it. And 2 of the ways were like Microsoft and Amazon. And really nobody wants to put anything gun related on those. So I can understand that it was a tough choice. And the third option was not a great choice. Sort of like DIY, try to do everything yourself, which is super difficult when you think about YouTube is the only one successful doing this. It kind of means it's really difficult to do. So I understand that it wasn't an easy task, but they didn't succeed. And nobody else did either. Full 30 failed, I think even bigger. And then, well, the only thing that is still running is guntube.org. It's GunTube. But anyway, guntube.org. So Night Strike did it legit. He did it that third-party way, DIY, and he's just capable, and he was able to keep it running all this time on a small scale. But it is what it is. He's the only one still around. Anyway, so they said they're coming back, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, so number 1 question, is it the same folks? Number 2, when? Like, number 3, how do I get on board? So the answers to those is we don't know, and we don't know. So what I did figure out by following the invites or those like sneak peek thing to the Discord is that I think I misunderstood, and it's not really a new version of what it was. It's instead some kind of I think they say like free speech gun selling platform, because they're upset that you can't, the reason we can't do anything on YouTube is they say that we're selling shit. So if there was a place that we could sell stuff, period, right? That's, I think, what they're attempting. Now, if that's, that's a long ass lead up to where we're at. So that's where I'm dropping off, because we don't know, right, what's Gunstreamer is going to be. But if Gunstreamer is going to just be a place where you can do some kind of content, but comfortably talk about guns and gun sales and everything, like literally be hooked up with a gun shop or hooked up with a gun manufacturer who hooks up with gun shops. And I don't even know if we're allowed to say this stuff on here, but, talk about that kind of stuff comfortably. And I know Rumble can do that, but if this is a place that's like set up for all that, first question to the audience and to Tony is, what do you think? Would that be cool or not? Like, is that something it seems like an answer to the question nobody asked. Is that the way to say it? But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad idea, right? Like, that just means nobody was asking for it. And then the second, and I'm going to put this theoretical out there, how cool would it be if that did exist? And then, conversations like this and all the other stuff that happens started happening over there, only now we can talk about guns. And it became like essentially the place to go because we can talk about guns over there. The thing that held Rumble back is technology a little bit. And it's also because most of us don't want, at least I can speak for myself and most people I know, we don't want to leave YouTube because of our whatever. We've been here and we have audiences and we have our content over here. But if there was this place where all of a sudden we can comfortably talk about selling guns, which means gun shops can set up shop and pay us, right? So now we can get paid to talk about guns. Like, now it's a whole nother story, right? Everybody's putting on the brakes and like complying old strategies and stuff, and like, getting back into old models of doing, old things, old podcasts and old shows and all that kind of stuff. And then that turns into like, what do you call it? Like the culture that we had on YouTube back in the day. When the gun culture on YouTube got big, it got shitty, and then it got big again, and it got kind of super cool, and then we got kind of attacked with our rights and shit, and then it came back with a vengeance, and then they've attacked us. Like for a minute there, like I would say 17 into 20, the gun culture and community on YouTube was thriving. Like we all had gone through, like I was kind of trying to describe there, like some turmoils and some ups and downs, based on all kinds of influences. But we came through all that shit, and we were like just kicking ass. And I'm thinking of like that rally in 2019 as being like sort of the indicator of like how cool it was getting. And then boom, SHOT Show, and then everything shuts down and it turned into bullshit for a number of years. And then YouTube, we come out of all that. People are stronger than ever. Podcasts are huge, right? What do they do to the gun stuff? You're like, oh, you looked at a gun, oh, you touched a gun, like blah blah, and started knocking us down to where, I mean, seriously, I don't know anybody who's actively interested in putting gun content up. I know of like 2 or 3 people that are actively interested in putting gun content up anymore. Some of us do it out of reflex, and some of us do it because out of spite. But you know what I mean? There's no enjoyment in doing it anymore, and you'd lose money. There is no way to do it financially anymore unless you're just a whore.
Oh yeah. Watch who you see. Buyer beware when you're watching these guys and seeing what they're doing and seeing where they're at. It's just annoying. I hope they work out. It's just really rough when you niche this information down to just firearms. Like I go down rabbit holes all the time when I go on YouTube. You know what I mean? It might start off as firearms, and then I click on something where somebody restores like a jacked up 1911, and now I'm in a restoration thing, and I'm watching a dude like restore a knife blade, and I found another dude that makes leather for a knife blade sheaves, and then I'm in restoring. There's a guy restoring an old car. The next thing I'm doing is watching somebody who buys the cheapest car they can on Facebook Marketplace, and they take it and strip it down to everything and build it back up as a restoration. Now I've been looking at car videos for a week. What the hell? How'd that happen? So when you get something down like a gun tube, it's like, cool. I went there and I wanted to see about a Stoner 63. And I've watched, all 2 videos of a Stoner 63, and there's nothing left. So now I'm out. So hopefully they can bring a bunch of people over to bring their content with them. And it actually builds up quickly into a library. Yeah, that I can fall into.
Sorry, I got the hiccups. They did before. They let you click a button and it would like suck your entire channel over. And that would be by itself, that would be a massive thing for a lot of us who are just, on the daily having channels or shows chopped off or videos chopped off.
And of course, you have to get over the hump of people going, I don't know if I want to get involved in that again. Look, dude, click a button, take everything over. If it dies, it dies. I mean, it's just
that's the
go
thing.
ahead
I think
and
in
give it a chance to grow.
2026, it's just a different world. Because back in the day, I agree with you. Like, and that was the reality. I don't know if I want to because, but yeah, there's nothing to hold on to over here anymore. It's just dead over here.
No.
You know what I mean? Like we could probably go on Rumble and have more people. Well, I'm only doing it here because I don't really care. Like if I cared, I'd be putting this somewhere where it matters more. But yeah, we're not doing this in front of enough people that we're milking y'all for. I mean, except for like we want you to support the diversity shoot because it's a project that has value. We're not like, you know what I mean? This isn't a profit thing. Now, if it was on a profitable platform, just us existing for 2 hours, yeah, that would be making money, probably a couple $100 on a profitable platform, just by filling time, just putting a place for ads to exist on. It's crazy that what YouTube has done because they're just jerks. Like they have so much money, they just don't care that they're, I don't know, putting out like a sector or whatever, like putting out the Spark over here.
Yeah, I mean, look, YouTube, they don't want, it came out during COVID that the government was actually pressuring, social media to not give alternative views on the COVID shot, right? Well, you think they're not doing the same thing to firearms? Nobody goes to jail. No one gets fired. No one even gets called out because, again, it falls under government. So no person is held up responsible. So there is no punishment. And so what makes them stop? Why wouldn't they pressure people going, hey, listen, just make gun stuff. Yeah, make it so you can't shoulder a firearm doing a live. And if you do, you kick them off. And then don't tell them why you kicked them off. That way, when they do it again, you go, hey, you're off for 90 days now. And then you can tell them, because that's what's happened with our podcast. They booted us because one of my guys picked up just the slide, totally separate from the firearm. It's not considered a firearm anywhere in America. Didn't even have a barrel in it. And we got 90 days.
AI picked it up as like, enough of a gun to be a gun.
And they don't give you the ability to go, hey, let me speak to a person. Hell no. You're not going to do that. So you can't tell me that's not encouraged in some way from someone, because it doesn't even sound like it makes sense. Like if you were doing it with cakes, right? If you were doing it with sweets, if you were doing it with cigars, because all of those things, if you were doing it with vehicles, all those things are much more deadly than firearms. All of them.
Well, that's
alcohol, food, all of it.
And that's another level or another angle of this, is that I don't care at all about complying with it. I don't mind leaving, honestly, because it has been a long time. I mean, I don't know how long YouTube thinks they're going to hold a stranglehold on shit, but with AI and with people's, once AI gets to the point where you can get like a 2-hour movie out of it, and you can say, okay, so now you're a kid and you can, I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, if you watch movies or if you listen to music, you've listened to every song, you've watched every movie in the things that you like, horror or comedy or whatever, right? Like you've seen them all because there's only so many. So what AI is going to do in a couple of minutes, right? It won't take that long. They'll be able to do a 2-hour thing. And the kid, I'm assuming, because we probably won't have as much interest in this, maybe we will, but the kid will be able to say, I want to see a comedy with this person, like John Wayne type, and so and so and so and so, and the plot, give me don't tell me the plot, make the plot random or something, and then boom, the movie happens, and then the person would rate that, and the AI will know what to do next time to make a movie that they like. But I don't think they're going to need to have 200 movies on a DVD or on a hard drive somewhere and pick from those 200 movies. I feel like I want to watch Die Hard again. You'll be able to if you want to, but you'll also be able to watch show me something that's between Die Hard and Terminator, go, and then tell it if you liked it or not. You know what I mean? Stop halfway through, because it doesn't cost you nothing to stop halfway through and say, no, give me something that's something like these two movies mixed together. And if in that world, what is YouTube worth? Nothing, because that's AI tube. You know what I mean? And YouTube can go to hell. So I'm with YouTube as long as they're with us, and they haven't been with us in a while now. So they're not advocating for us. They're not making it toxic here, but they're not making it fertile. So the opportunity for a new place, I'm down again, and I'm more than I used to be. Before I was I'm willing to go to a new place. I'm interested to see what they do. Now I'm eager to see a new place succeed, because for all the things I just said, I don't think YouTube is out for our best interest. I think they're here to data mine us, and they've decided that. Well, that's another reason. It's really not that they care about us, because they don't have an opinion on guns other than guns don't make money. So that means watching us is a waste of their time, and they'd rather not be here. So they're just going to make it uncomfortable for us so that we don't have to, so we will go somewhere else. And I'm going to say, hey, let's take them up on that. Because honestly, all they're doing is watching what we're doing anyway, probably reporting that back to somebody, or willing to report it back to somebody.
What do you mean by guns don't make money?
Huh?
Hello? I said, what do you mean by guns don't make money? Yeah.
Well, because when they're tracking somebody's buying a toaster, and then they buy Wonder Bread, and then they buy Jiffy peanut butter, Like they can go to Jiffy, they can go to Wonder Bread, and they can go to that toaster company, and they can sell all of them that data. And that's pretty much how we are guinea pigs. Like that's how we are data mined. So every time we do stuff with our phones and with our browsers and with our YouTube and with our every choice we make, that's the kind of stuff that's being sold so that they can make a toaster and maybe collaborate with Wonder Bread, or they make a toaster that fits Wonder Bread perfectly, right? You know, they're just going to make the better toaster that we like better, or sell it to us in a better way, or some tell us like, hey, if you buy that toaster and that Wonder Bread, the Jiffy peanut butter's on us or something. So you know, that is where they make their real money. And with guns, since guns are like verboten sector, we're like, I would like to say like we're like tobacco or like the other vices, but I think they actually make money on that other shit because they're not, for some reason, guns are like the bad thing. And that's all I'm getting at is what I meant with, at least with that, is that the YouTube doesn't see us as a money making sector because we're it's like we got poop on us. So it's like, that part's tainted. They go touch guns. So yeah, they are buying stuff, but since nobody wants gun data, we don't, you know, nobody's buying that. I mean, maybe we're not alone. Like there's probably other sectors that nobody gives a shit about, but I suspect all the other ones are selling something. You know, so they're buying something and somebody's buying their data.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So
See,
that's
for
all I meant
me, yeah, with me, it's not even, it just gets on my nerves. It bothers the heck out of me because there's a ton of money. I mean, we're going to see how much money is that shot that's there. But if you continually beat it down and stigmatize it to the point that, oh, well, you have to overcome all of this to even be interested. Well, you allowed that to happen. Like, you know, because I'm friends with Zeke Stout and Ashley, freaking, I swear, Hablinski, and they were on that Discovery show, right? Master at Arms. And the show was a success. The show outperformed the numbers that they thought they would get, like significantly outperformed the numbers they thought they would get of the American public watching it. And then, like, a school shooting happened while they were off, and then it became, oh, well, we're not going to promote that. Well, no, Americans want to see the content. You're the wishy-washy son of bitches that keep backing out of it. It's not just going to be a giant backlash and no one's going to watch YouTube because YouTube didn't annoy the shit out of gun channels. YouTube is choosing not to do that. You know what I mean? They're choosing not to promote this because there's a crap ton of stuff on YouTube I don't watch. And it's not, or maybe even stuff I don't agree with. I don't know because I don't look for it. You know what I mean? Who goes on YouTube to look for gun stuff and then complain about it? Oh, anti-gun groups that get paid to do that. That's who.
Exactly. No, that's a big ass point. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, this
Like
shit
I don't
sells.
like, let's say I don't like roller splating or something that bothers you. I don't like
Mhm.
people that play the kazoo or something. You don't like, you know what I'm gonna do today? Get on YouTube and go annoy people that play kazoo or something I don't like. Like,
Yeah.
trust
You
me.
know what? I'm gonna call in every Piccolo video I see because I'm tired of these woodwind mother effers thinking they run itch. No, doesn't happen. So I just wanted to say Piccolo in the sentence, but it's really true. It's like I'm just we're targeted, and then to go, oh well, you know, no one really doesn't. No, it makes tons of money. There's tons of companies. We're about to see both SHOT Show, Great American Outdoor Show, NRA, and pretty much a dozen regional shows kick off in 2026, and all of them are going to sell out. GOA had to move from Knoxville to freaking Des Moines, Iowa, because they ran out of room at the Knoxville Convention Center. So it sells. It's just that YouTube either is complicit with it or whatever. And I hope anybody that comes along will freaking make a profit off of it. Because, yes, we're not a big part of YouTube in percentage, but you got to understand, we also discourage from being a big part of YouTube because they love showing us like how little, you know, gun companies are or firearms content is of YouTube. Well, if you put this many obstacles between anything, you're not encouraging it, you're not promoting it, you're discouraging it, and what do you call it when you not only discourage it, penalizing them for it, and then you go, hey, it didn't grow.
No, it's no shit.
Well,
And the
yeah.
fact that it did, you're not giving credit for like it did grow in spite of all that. Like what what we got here is in spite of all that.
Mhm.
And I think
Yeah.
and I may have, I'm just not doing a good job of staying on top point, or we're delving into tangents, so that just lends itself to
That's what
being
we
a lot
do.
of different directions, right? But I guess one of the reasons I was saying or commenting that the gun community doesn't make money is, I guess I was trying to say, I don't think YouTube hates us as much as they just don't care, because we fall into that category of they're just not making money on us. We don't pay for their attention, sort of. They tolerate us, but they don't persecute us. And we just don't get attention because, like everything you just said. And that's what I guess I was getting at, is that I don't like, I mean, and, we know Clover is aware of the operations and he's attempting to make the clarity, attempting different ways to create clarity so that as content creators who don't deal with gun topics, that it's understandable. But in addition to that, or differently than that, my thing is I'd like to see someone approach YouTube and say, here's the situation of the gun owners on your platform. Either here's enough of us, or here's the larger number of us, or the ones with influence, or somebody that has the ear. I don't care how it happens, but I'd like to see that approach, where instead of, like you say, like just dealing with it and having to go somewhere else, or even considering going somewhere else, we actually take the situation to someone who can do something about it and go, here's the situation. Either make it, either tell us that you're doing it intentionally and that's the way it's going to be, put up or shut up, in which case, fine, now we know. Or I
Mhm.
suspect more realistically, they would go, oh, we didn't even realize that you're getting squished by our policy, and that, our AI is being dumb. Let's pay more attention to our AI and fix it, because it's really supposed to be going after this. Because I think there's value there. Like Rob was saying, you're able to do all this stuff on one place. It's nice. Like, right? Like the YouTube is cool for that kind of stuff. And it is a big place. That's why I'm still here. I like it for those reasons. And there's money to be made if you're not doing guns. And I'd like to see money be made for guns, at least the lack of prohibition on that. But I think that once you have that channel open with YouTube to say, leave us alone as gun owners, we can then also, and I think this is just as important and part, adjacent, but just as important, say, now that we have your ear, every mention of the word suicide, I'm not allowed to even say that, is not negative. And let us talk about this so that we can fucking help end it, you assholes. So, that I think would be valuable. We need to address the gun stuff because it's important. And then once we have their ears, talk about some of the adjacent stuff that we can use, that whatever, that newfound communication chain or whatever channel to, and I'd probably imagine if we sat here for a little while, we could probably think of like other adjacent or like near adjacent things that if once we had that communication with them, we could help them basically fix the platform, right? Like help everybody really. Because I don't think that they just don't understand what they're squishing when they squish, because they're just too big of an entity. And I'm not giving them a go or a pass for that. But I've worked at big ass companies before, and I understand that, what do you expect when there's a billion people working at a place and there's departments and divisions and all that kind of shit? Things are not going to be some kind of
Well, again,
utopia.
being a firearms guy, right? Being a gun dude, I want to think it's a whole conspiracy against me because I'm used to it, right? Like it's like, of course they're standing against us. Of course
Conditioning.
they're out to get us because it's happening where I live.
Well, there
And
definitely are people who are out to get us, and they'll use whatever tools, whatever they can.
Mhm.
And that's where it's like,
So
is their hand in the puppet the victim or the evil, the only evil, I guess, because it is evil, I guess. But is the
mm,
puppet also evil, or is the puppet like just the puppet and it doesn't even realize? And
yeah,
once the evil hand is out of it, it goes back to being neutral or being our tool again.
exactly. So that's the thing that we have to calm down for. I'm not going to speak to any of those people because they're against it. Dude, bro, they don't know you exist. They don't know your position. They don't know your thoughts because you can't tell it to them because how they have it set up. But if somebody's helping you out to give you a voice, then take it. and treat it like you're talking to someone that can make a difference in your life. Everybody doesn't need to get yelled at because they're a communist or whatever the frig you want to call people. Whatever's the flip side of calling everyone a Nazi.
A hippie? I don't know.
Okay. I'm just saying. It's just as someone who's in this fight and trying to bring people together to fight the same fight, I have to go against some of our own all the time because they don't want to talk to those people. Well, the people I'm bringing in actually want to come in and learn about this. So great. No, I'm not telling them to go home and tell their lefty commie friends that gun people are great because that's how you put it. Yeah. Tell all your loser friends that we're awesome and they should come here too. Yeah, no, it doesn't work like that. Doesn't sound friendly. So yeah, calm down. Let's talk to people. Everybody might
Sometimes
not be out to get us. They might be unaware.
I wish we'd go to more like gun shows and have events where people showed up in real life together. Rallies, I guess I was gonna say, and then because rallies, I've seen it where I'm thinking of New Mexico. It's a horrible rally, just in the way that their capital is it Santa Fe? Yeah, I think it's Santa Fe is old. It's like oldened, and then Olden West town is tiny. I guess it's the same as being in Massachusetts, I bet. But it's tiny because it was made for horses and carriages and shit. It's still like that. So parking regular sized vehicles is just it's like a comedy. So it's just a tiny little place. So because and a bunch of people showed up. I forgot what the issue was. Whenever year that was, I went to one of their rallies. It must have been probably 18 or 19. And there was so many different people there that they had little groups. Groups had little signs, well, big signs, and then they were not standing next to each other kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like the people that didn't like each other. Or that you could just tell we're not in the same, like somebody, they don't have to not like each other. I don't make it sound like we have cliques or something, but like somebody who's like CCW versus somebody who's like libertarian, I just want any gun and like maybe 3D printing guns or just something that's like not CCW. Typically they're just going to be like, oh, I'm stand over here because I'm CCW. Or like hunters are gonna, I'll just stand over here because we're all wearing camouflage. We know what we look like. So it was, you know, I've seen that kind of happen. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I'd like to see more rallies because, one, we don't know. Well, and then another thing that I could get into forever. I see the Arizona one more often than any of them because I've been to that one more often than any of them. And it's large and it's spread out so the little clicks can happen. And you see the little clicks if you're paying attention. I'm usually paying attention. So I just think it's interesting because over the years, those cliques you can kind of tell, like they show up, and I'm thinking of like a bunch of young kids showed up and they were all like back to back, like, oh, we're young kids and we don't know what's going on, but we want to be here too. Like, you can't tell us not to be here. And they figured out nobody cared if they were there. And then they were like, after the second year, they weren't back to back. They were just like, we're going to stand as a group. And then after like the third year, they weren't even standing next to each other. They were just doing their thing, but they're all wearing the same shirts. And I don't know if that's like a good generalization, but like that's what happens is like some new group comes to the community and they don't know what to expect, but they're together. So fuck them. We're going to be here no matter what you say. And then they figure out that everybody's, instead of being like, hey, they're like, hey, did you see, what do you got there? What kind of gun is that? You want to see my gun? And then it's like, okay, the next year you're like, oh, I'm going to come show up again because it was so awesome. And we're all together because we showed up together. And then the next year it's like, oh yeah, we wear the same shirt. And then like the fourth year, you forget to wear the shirt. Or half of them forget to wear the shirt, and you're still all friends, right? You're just all blended in, and that's sort of what the rally kind of showed us. And I don't know if people see that, you know, if people see that through osmosis, or if it's just going to happen no matter what. Who cares if anybody sees it? You know what I mean? But that's the thing that I just get frustrated because the gun shows had to be, because a gun show is like 1,000 times as big as or bigger than a rally. Even the shittiest gun show has way more people showing up than the biggest rally, and over a weekend. And then, well, I keep saying gun shows were, and I think are, because they still exist, they're the blood of our community. Like the stuff that flows through a gun show, the people walking through a gun show is so much like blood going through an organism. You know, it moves ideas around. That person wearing that t-shirt, one of Maj's t-shirts, right? Your blue shirt, walking around a gun show. What's that? The third time you see it, you stop somebody. What the hell's that shirt? Oh, okay. Fifth time you see it, you look it up on your phone. And now somebody else walks by and goes, "What the hell's that shirt?" You can tell them comfortably, "Oh, I looked it up. It's blah, blah, blah." After about the third gun show, nobody even knows anymore. Nobody questions anymore because it's just common knowledge. And that's just something as simple as a t-shirt being worn around. But I've seen it a billion times because I've done gun shows for my whole life through different parts of the country. The little kids, whatever the young groups of kids are, like, kids that show up from working in a construction site or something, they all look the same because they're all wearing the same clothes. Kids that came from maybe some school or something, they're all just looking like kids, but you can kind of tell they're all together. Same kind of thing happens at these shows. Like they'll, 7 of them show up. The next time 4 of them show up. 10 years later, 2 or 3 of them are still showing up. I mean, that doesn't happen anymore because there's no more gun shows like that. But that was, like the gun shows led us to see the community, like come and go and thrive and, get old and stuff. And then you'd see people who showed up at the gun show and they were working for this company, and then they showed up at the gun show and they're working for that company, and then they show up at the gun show and they're selling their own stuff, and then they show up and they have a business. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen stuff like that. And I imagine it's the exact same if I would be into VWs. I always pass this VW place in town, and I bet you it's the exact same way, right? Like somebody shows up and they're into the bugs, and then they show up and they're into some other kind of VW, and then they show up and they're selling some muffler or something that they came up with. It's just the way that it's just that with the gun community, because of the guns, like we're persecuted. I don't care what anybody says, like we're persecuted. So we I think we paid more attention to ourselves than some of the other communities pay attention to themselves.
100%. All right, man, I got to cut this short because I got dinner tonight.
Okay, you got your text?
Yeah, they said soup's done. So I'm going over. It was at 5:30, but food's ready now. So
right.
Yeah, man. I'm looking at
the
rallies
each week. Had another year's worth of this. Hopefully we'll keep doing it for a bit and figure out a way to make riches for you so that you're
Hey man, it gives me an outlet to yammer. It gives me an outlet to yammer with someone else, bounce it off, and even answer some gun questions. I hope we lived up to the hype that I put out on X.
Nobody complained, at least. That's got to be a good sign.
Yeah. So, hey, close enough. So, yeah, thank you for everybody that supported it and actually reposted stuff from me. Follow me on Instagram or any of the social media and reposted stuff. It's really helped. And I appreciate it. I understand that we are seen as bad guys and we all lump together as some kind of extremist. And I'm like, I'm not extreme. Or you know what? Fine. Call me extreme. Guess who else was extreme? The people that founded this country and told us not to trust the government and stay strapped. So, yeah, I think I'm in good company when it comes to being called an extremist. Sorry, you can only call me a Nazi for so many years before I just don't care what you call me. So thank you, everyone, for your support. I feel blessed to be able to be on the show and talk to you guys. And follow me on diversityshoot.com. Go to diversityshoot.com, support us, check out our schedule. If you want to buy stuff for us, find out the ranges we're working at, and you can actually purchase stuff that we can raffle off over the mail using your credit card. They send it to us. We had Ed Green actually donate 1,000 rounds to us at the Diversity Shoot Thursday, which was crazy. And Aberdeen Guns and Ammo, they donated 1,000 rounds also Thursday. So please, if you can, support them. Check them out online. Give them a follow on social media. And if you want to purchase some stuff and tell them to set it aside for the Diversity Shoot, you can do that and support a small business at the same time. So Aberdeen Guns and Ammo in Aberdeen, New Jersey. Thanks a lot, guys. Happy New Year. Happy holiday. I don't know. I mean, I'll be back because I have nothing going on. So if we're going to be here next Saturday, I'll be here. But if you're busy and have a family, I understand.
Oh, no, next Saturday, I may actually be doing something, but I don't know if I am or not. And if I'm doing something, I'll have internet. Doesn't matter where I'm at. We might go camping is all I'm saying, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Cold. So we're old and wimpy. So I don't know if we're actually but yeah, thanks for joining each week and see you all next week.
Shit. Ninja? Ninja! Ninja!